Dun 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 dun. All right.
Welcome to Humpday Q&A,
Yes.
where
And Randall's
Randall
bad
dances every
rendition.
show.
And Randall's bad rendition of the opening theme song because he likes dancing around with Dash to that because that's the fun stuff to do.
Now we need lyrics, and you can do karaoke too.
There's probably a few places I could ask for lyrics to that. That
Oh
would
no,
be fun.
no.
Yeah,
Right, moving on.
Jim and I can probably come up with some good ones to pitch the home team. So, yeah, Jim and I could probably do some good lyrics for that. Yes. Hi. Hello, Simon.
Hello,
Greetings
everyone.
once again. It's been 165 hours since I last saw you. Or
It's been some number of
164.
hours.
164.
We did quite a long
It was
show,
like a
didn't we,
long
last
show.
week? I don't
4
remember.
hours,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
it was quite
Yeah.
long.
Let's try not doing that today.
Yeah, but
Well,
we did some
maybe.
nice stuff going. So if you
We did.
if you missed
It's
that,
a great
go
show.
check it out last week.
It was absolutely a great show. Yes, that was the fun part. I'm a little more rested today. So if you really wanted to go long, I got nothing bumping up until about noon. So yeah, I'd be fine to
Let's see
go a little
how we
longer.
go.
Yeah.
Let's see what questions come in. Talk about
Cool.
which.
Yeah.
Let's go through the do's and don'ts, and we can crack on with the show.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. So do be nice. Do be not a don't be. All right. Nice and respectful and constructive. When you're chatting here, we're all watching it, and be nice because other people are also they're human beings. They're not just chat names. There's actually real people on the other end of this connection. So be nice. Don't post anything if it's adult or rude or offensive. We do have ban hammers. You will be banned. Don't advertise or promote anything. If your face is not on screen, you cannot promote anything. Okay, so don't promote anything in the chat room. I can promote things because my face is on the screen. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. And in particular, we do have questions and answers on this show. We have mostly questions and a few answers. And if you post Q colon in front of your question, we will note it for our queue. If you post that exact same question 20 minutes later, guess what? You lost your place in the queue because we take you out of the beginning and put you down in the middle. So don't repost your question. We see all. We will see those questions. So just put Q colon in front of it. That'll flag it, and I will mark it and eventually read it to Simon, and he will answer it while Googling for things at the same time. He's really good at that. Okay, no harassment of any kind tolerated. Again, we have ban hammers, but do have a good time. We have a good time doing the show.
Indeed.
We're excited to be here every week or as often as we can be. And it's been a nice long run, and I've had a great time doing it so far until they kick me off. So you're right.
We'll mention that if you post any links in your chat messages, they will not come through. So don't do that. If you wanted to post some code or maybe a longer question or something that can't come through the chat, you can post it in a gist, and that is a GitHub gist. And the link from last week, was it gist.new? Was that the website?
Gist.new takes you right into GitHub.
Gist.new. It will take you to GitHub and create a new gist, and you can just type in your stuff. And what we need you to post, is the hash. That is the hexadecimal number from the URL into the chat, and then we can then go look it up. Okay, so that's one way of sharing content to us, like code or other long snippets and so on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on. Just in case you didn't know, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at DevAndrews London, and you can follow me on Twitter at DevAndrews London and find me on all the other social medias and all that type of jazz. Scott can't be with us today. Randall, please introduce yourself.
I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, one of 10 in the United States. What that means is for the last 6 years, I've gotten to spend a lot of my time answering y'all's questions on various social platforms like Discord and Slack and Reddit and Stack Overflow. I also give presentations both in person and virtually, mostly virtually so far. I basically I attend meetings so I get to find out stuff that's happening a little bit ahead of time, only like minutes before you do. But sometimes it's just kind of nice to know what direction we're heading from behind the scenes. But I enjoy Flutter. I've been all in on Flutter since I first discovered it. I've been a Dart programmer for 5 years before that. So I've been around the ecosystem quite a bit, and I'm happy to share my knowledge.
And we also have Danielle join us. Danielle, welcome to the stage.
Hi, everybody. It's been another week. It's been awesome. So hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I am the Flutter Tech lead for a company called Ardley, and I'm also one of the organizers of the Flutteristas. And the fact that I'm only one of them will come in handy in just a second. But it's an organization for women and non-binary people who are enthusiastic about Flutter. So if you know someone like that, or if you're like that, hit me up, and I'll make sure we get you joined up.
Cool. And we also have Ezra. Ezra, welcome.
Hello. I'm Ezra. I've been in these streams also a little bit before, on and off, and now I'm here again. I'm also one of the organizers of Flutteristas, currently located in Berlin. Maybe we already met in FlutterCon. So I'm also doing some organizations in Flutter Berlin Meetup Network Group right now, and here as a guest today, and pretty excited again. Like always, it's fun.
I was going to say in New York City, I had someone come up to me that basically had said their life was kind of changed because when they were first starting to get into Flutter, when we were hosting the book club here a couple of years ago, that they watched it and it was like a huge deal. And so
a lot of people really, I had some few people talk about 30 Days of Flutter as well. I really like that initiative as well. Came up. That was quite busy as well. If you have I think someone's got their phone on. I heard a phone. So just
it was mine. It was mine. I'm fixing it.
Come on. You should know better.
Right. I know I should.
Just to mention that none of us work for Google. We are all community enthusiasts and Flutter developers and much like. So just our opinions are our own, all that kind of jazz. Right. We as we were saying, get your questions in the chat with a queue in front of them, and we'll get to them. If there is, have we got any questions so far? We've got one.
Just one.
Come on, guys, we can have more than one.
Yes. There are many of you out there. If everybody asked one question, we would be done with taking questions because that would be too many.
We started doing that Pi progress indicator, didn't we, last week?
Yeah, that was fun.
Now we should maybe we can finish that off.
At the end or now? Starting it now? I guess we could.
Well, whenever.
Question.
We could just do a show that's just live coding.
Well, before we do that.
Before we do that.
We have an announcement to make right now. We should probably talk a little bit about.
My bad.
So, we recently had another good book published on Flutter by several of our friends that are out there. And one of the authors listed on there is Ezra. So I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. I actually dropped the link to our Slack. If possible, maybe I can also drop it here. Like however
you mean the book link?
Exactly.
Yes.
So the book is called Flutter Design Patterns and Best Practices. It is published by also the Pact. We worked on it with Jaime and Daria together. And first things first, I think I would like to just say thank you all inviting me here to support in all other initiatives that I have. Like you always do, and you are already on top of the changes, everything. We just released this week, and you are just okay, are you coming to the stream? Yes, I am. It's pretty quick. And meantime, in the first week, we managed to hit the bestsellers actually in object-oriented design, which is good. And before it was in Java. The fact is, I just noticed that there is no Flutter category in programming languages in Amazon. You can see
that's because they need more books. We need to publish more books.
They have Flutter categories.
And technically, Flutter's not a programming language, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a language. I was going to say Dart would be there, and probably is.
Yeah,
but Flutter is not a language. Flutter's a framework.
Yeah, but they have other books like that and categorized in
definitely it's not belongs to Java section for sure, but yeah. So it is actually a little bit like right now, at least it's in under object-oriented part. But let's see. What can I say about it? It is just like only Kindle and paperback version. There is no hardcover version. Actually, I don't even have the book right now for me. Like they already shipped us, but I can see in Twitter already some of our friends like Dominic, Chatai, Louis, Frey. I already saw they just got it and shared. And I'm like, we don't even have it yet. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to visit Turkey next week. And I just want to bring it back to my family because, in the like in the preface, you're just also writing like, thank you, putting your names, like your mother, father, and so on, whatsoever. I also want to just deliver that one, but I just can't right now.
Can I ask some questions about the book?
Sure.
Okay. Ezra, so before you, I literally just looked. I can actually get a copy delivered tomorrow.
My delivery is October 16, and now it looks like fastest October 10. And I think I already gave my address like maybe 2 weeks ago or something.
Wow. I think Amazon also does the thing where they print to order, don't they?
I am just thinking
it's
like
crazy.
There is something going in London about that. Like when anytime I just click links, it always pushes me to the UK store and so on. Maybe they are just getting printing and sending from there. I have no idea. Like
apparently I'm allowed to follow you as an author on Amazon now. How about that?
That is really cool.
I wasn't expecting that too. Like it actually also came as a surprise.
Start publishing books every week and I'll get notifications. So.
Yeah, my hard copy. I can order a hard copy that'll be here on Friday.
Oh my God! You will also get it before me now.
Well, I'm gonna have to have it when I see you and Daria to get you to autograph it for me.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I actually got an advanced copy. I'm reading through it. It's very good. But I think Randall had some questions.
I did have a question. Yeah. I mean, I love that we're all promoting the book, but I'm trying to figure out, drill in a little bit and see what the contents are, to see if I'm going to be interested in reading the book. I probably will be. So it's about patterns. How did you a couple questions here. How did you identify the common patterns in Dart and Flutter? And how is it different from, say, the patterns we see in Gang of Four?
Like, personally, like I would like to just start from a general perspective of the book and then like proceed at that side. In this part, the book, I actually need to give the right to Daria and Jaime here. They started way before me, to be honest, to this one. And I just joined them for supporting some chapters. And they already had some flow and topics to get covered about it. And what we have is we have an app like called Candy app in it. So in any topic that like we are mentioning about responsive UI, state management, navigation, like everything that you just see here is just added to the GitHub repository and the application directly to just be able to follow it. And the coverage and the patterns are mostly, I assume, based on their own experiences in the beginning. Daria and Jaime both are GDEs, and Daria has a great knowledge. I think she will also mention about it once she has a time, that they were already like working in an agency, many apps. I assume it is just coming from a lot of hands-on market experience in this front about how to scale and proceed.
Mm-hmm.
I like the name of this one, the responsible repository pattern. You definitely don't want to use the unresponsible repository.
Yeah. That would be horribly irresponsible, of course.
Yeah. It'd be very irresponsible.
Personally, while creating, what can I say about is like it never feels like it's good enough, or like it never feels like I covered everything enough. Like even now, when I just think about some chapters, when Randall asks a question, I just feel like, oh, we could add this, we can add this package.
This is the same problem that Majid had when he was writing his book. He was like, I've got so much content, I can write another book.
Yeah, like now I feel like I can add this package. There's a company launching this product about it. Let's get feedback of these people and so on. But there is just no end of this. There is just no end of this. And I just felt like it could go always better. It could just go even wider. But right now, we just kind of settled down a date as it works. And now I'm just thinking, when I have a new idea, yeah, Esra, if you have a feedback, if you want to mention about another library, just write another Medium article. Just share it, just put it, just publish it, or I don't know, just make it as a talk, maybe. That's how I'm kind of feeling.
It's tough writing a book, right? And then you've also, I think books are brilliant. First of all, I think from my perspective, I think reading long form content online, like in e format, for me doesn't work. I have to, I like going through an actual book.
Yeah.
Like I feel like stories are one thing, like that kind of thing, but actual reference material and like, you know, like specifically around programming and so on, it feels and it works for me when it's in the book form. However, it does get out of date quickly. So you're going to be doing multiple editions of this book. I'm telling you right now, this was going to happen, right? And that's the only way, because it's one of those things, right? Like as the languages change, as the features change, as things get deprecated, it's like, okay, do we have that in the book? Yes. Okay, we need to rewrite that section of the book. Keep up to date, keep it current.
I also wanted to interject. As a published author, I recognize that one of the most difficult things I had, especially like when I was doing my Perl tutorial, learning Perl, was what to leave out. What can we get away with not saying and still have a coherent picture at the end of the chapters to make sense, to at least give people, we like to call them hangers, where you hang your clothes on, you hang your new knowledge on. So we were only providing the closet and hoping that people would then fill out their own knowledge below that. And that is a skill, and it's not something that you're all born with. If anybody who was born with that, I'm happy that they've got that, but no, yeah. It's so I appreciate the concern for I just thought of this I could put in. Yes, that will happen forever. Trust me. 30 years published. So yeah. I know there's things I could have said and I didn't.
just as a little brag on that, how many books have you published, Randall?
I list something like 6 or 7 different ISBNs, but that doesn't count the translations. So if you really want to count translations, it's more like 20. So, but I didn't do the translations. But the most important part about it was that they were pivotal books. They were seminal books that really affected the industry. So I do have bragging rights about that.
So by translation, you mean translating from Perl to Dart?
No. Translation to Japanese and Spanish and German and stuff. Yeah, I didn't do any of those. I speak one human language not frequently. What's the word?
Fluently.
Fluently. Yeah, you would think someone who spoke English fluently would recognize that word. Yes, that's ironic. All right.
By the way, just as a heads up for people, since I've hopped on this, I've had my internet drop out on me 3 times. So if I just disappear, that will likely be why.
That's how we know.
I want to show Randall a book of shame.
Oh God! Oh, is that your
CGI broke?
Yeah, but are you ashamed because it's CGI? CGI was a wonderful
technology. No, it's visual, but it's like I'm going to use an app language to build a website. I mean, like it's just
it got us. CGI got us through the .com boom.
Do you remember when books came with discs?
Oh yeah.
We don't have a disc though. we just
but anybody that buys the book can download a copy of it too. So you do have it online.
Wow.
I mean, personally, like, let's see how that works. To be honest about it, I am not directly the book person. Yes, we wrote the book. Yeah, we published the book. But if you just ask me, I'm more of like, okay, let's see the code. Let's run it, how it goes in. Like, even if I have the book, probably I will just put it somewhere. Then I will just try to do by myself. This is how I kind of learn. It actually don't go for me like just going through and checking.
I just thought of an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have this really laptops anymore, right? I
Yeah.
have an interesting idea. What do you think of this idea, right? Imagine you've got a book and it has obviously like you said, like you've got, was it Candy app in this that you're using as your example or something like that? Like you had the WoW shopping app for the dev camp stuff and what we've been doing here.
Mhm.
I wonder if it'd be cool that you had like you could interact with the code like you can with your editor. You can tap on like the class names and be taken to the documentation. However, if you tap on a piece of it, they actually take you to a section of a book. Right? So it's the opposite way around. You can explore the code and go, I don't understand this. Click on it, and it goes, oh, these are the chapters that you should read to understand this concept or this thing. Yeah, that might be interesting. Maybe reverse the the way that you approach it, rather than teach the stuff and then show the code and then teach the stuff. I don't know. Just a thought.
Do books have deep links?
No, I'm thinking about like you have a digital version of the content,
yeah.
right? That that the book references, and that allows you to reference back to chapters and information inside the book.
Yeah.
Different people's
Matthew?
learning styles want different things first. So
Why are you
some
not on the
people want
show?
examples
Why are you
first.
not on the show, Matt? Come on.
Yeah.
Where are
Yeah.
you at?
Yeah. As I was saying, though, different people have different leading technologies that they want. Some people want examples and then description. Some people want description and then examples. Some people want concepts and then cookbook style information to fill in their concepts. I mean, everybody has a different learning style, and it's important to recognize that so that you're not just always honed in on your style, because you want to mix it up a little bit in the books so that everybody feels comfortable with it at some point. We discovered we were accidentally doing that in some of my earlier books, and I went, oh, hey, I guess I just accidentally stumbled on what I should have known how to do, and then did it consciously in my later books. So it was fun.
Well,
I mean, I'm definitely the type of learner that I will take, I don't know, let's just think of our counter app that we've got. You know, one of the first things I do is I start changing colors, or I start making it, add a random number or whatever. I just, to me, that's where I like to take what it is. Now I try to tear it apart and get at the edges of it to figure stuff out. So
he just reminded me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was say, you just reminded me of literally just a memory from like 7 years ago just popped into my head, which was the very first time I started playing around with Flutter. And like you try these new things out with the counter app. Like when you said counter app, that's what reminded me.
Yeah.
And I remember wanting to write a bit of code that would allow me to drag an icon around the screen. So I could like tap and move that icon around the screen. And how difficult I found it becoming from like the model of how it would work in other UI systems to the declarative way, right? And not understanding that difference. So I just thought that's an interesting, like, yeah, it's not very often you can put, it's really hard to unlearn, right? Like we were saying before, it's really hard to take yourself back and then, teach. So, I mean, how did you find that, Ezra, like in any of the book stuff that you were doing? Did you find it hard to kind of, for the information to come out, as it were, for you to put in a certain way?
Like personally, I think telling it in an easier way is my thing. Like how I would say is like I really like learning the fundamentals part, and to grasp something, I really need to be able to visualize it or connect something in a real life. If I can visualize in my mind the concept, then I'm actually having my own way of to connect the dots and then tell about the story. So personally, I was always interested in creating content in a way of, let's say, in a teachable form. Somehow the public speaking and everything, the soft skills, technical skills, they actually all formed around that. I am actually even graduated from a school raising the teachers and so on in high school, and then continues on that. I just didn't proceed there because of different career options that I have. But it was something that I really love it. I really love to start it writing it like, yes, if somebody knows nothing, how would you just sell it? How would you just go from it and then like build on top of it? I do remember, for example, while learning streams, one of my leads, like he just tell me some story about like, think about it, it's a river and you're just trying to get some water and so on. Like after he just explained it to me in that visual way, I never had issues with it. Like it was just like immediate click that I have. So for me, making real life connections is just like making it fun. And for me, right now, at least the chapters that I had a chance to touch on, it starts with the basis. Like there is no external library creating, I don't know. I mean, there is of course Mockito examples too, but let's do by yourself first. Let's do how would you do it? Like there was a lot of.
Well, I always say like do vanilla state management, right? Do that thing with inherited where
Yeah,
you understand what it is, the
listener.
concepts.
Yeah, just learn notify listeners. Just learn how these stuff do. Then if you get the base, then you can the libraries that we're gonna use, the packages we're gonna use is just like build on top of, and like some stuff is just making things sometimes easier, sometimes faster, sometimes even better than what you do because they have a different mechanism behind. I think my main focus was shoving the concept first, and then it's just getting easier to see. So there is not that's like actually one of the things that I mentioned. I feel like it's not good enough. There could be like I could mention about this library. I could mention about blah blah. Like for example, for tests.
There's never enough time in the day. There's never enough paper to write. Like, it's the same thing, right? Like,
yeah. And even now, I'm finding new things. Now in new project, we are using Patrol and
second edition soon.
Yeah, like I'm learning even the new stuff they use in Patrol, and now I'm just thinking, yeah, chapter didn't touch Patrol at all. Like, come on, like it could have been like go really differently, but I think it is new content.
Right, before we go any further, before we go any further, hey, we have another guest joining us.
Oh,
hey. You're muted.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's so funny because you were talking about learning streams, and I'll tell you the thing that made it click for me was, and I hope, I don't know, well, I'm sure Subway's everywhere, right? The thing that made it click for me was someone explained it like the going to Subway, and like, you know, the going through the counter, and like the guy behind the counter is like a stream transformer who's transforming your instructions into a sandwich. And I've learned that if it is food related, I tend to grasp it pretty quickly. So anytime you can take a programming concept and turn it into food, I'm there, and I can understand it.
So a program is like a big cookie.
Yes, exactly.
Chocolate chips everywhere. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. Or snickerdoodles, right. or yeah,
or bad code. It's like a pot noodle full of stringy bits. They go everywhere.
It's like ramen. Yeah.
Right. We actually have a list of questions mounted up, so we should probably get on with them, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We have lots of experts to answer questions these days, so it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't have to answer any of them.
Did you want to introduce yourself at all? We just like kind of.
Oh yeah. Hi, my name is Matthew. I have been developing Flutter since late 2017, early 2018. I think it was early 2018. And I have been, I implemented the block pattern back before there was really a library for it. These days, you know, obviously I use Riverpod because that's the right answer. No, I'm kidding. I work for a company called Aloya Corporate Credit Union. So for those of you outside the US, think of a credit union as being like a bank, but the people own it. And I absolutely am obsessed with Flutter.
Cool.
Well, the right place to be, and the right place to answer questions. Should we jump onto the first one, Randall?
Indeed, I'm pushing up the buttons here. How to use the animated text kit package animations in a text form field and alter the hint text every 600 milliseconds. Probably can't.
I mean, you can just wrap your so you can literally just wrap your widget in a like
animation.
I mean, there's so many ways to do this, but you can just wrap it in another widget that has a timer for every 600 milliseconds. It's called set state with your new text, and that's it. You've done it.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to use any specific package. I've not even heard of this package.
Right.
Not to say that.
It's not hard to run something every 600 milliseconds.
Yeah. I mean, even typing out the text is one of those very basic things that you can do, where you say, oh, every 100 milliseconds add another character, just do substring and then put that in there so it looks like it types it out, right? Like,
yeah, I will qualify it. It's not hard to run something every 600 milliseconds, except in the background. Why does everybody want background execution? It's just crazy. There goes my battery. Don't do that. Don't make my battery burn out. You do not need background execution. Stop it.
All right. Yeah, I keep dropping out, so I think I'm going to go ahead and drop off the call because I never know if it's going to work when I start talking anyway. So.
Well, we'll see you again soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I like looking at your arcade machines in the background, so I'm sorry you're dropping off.
Take a static picture, snapshot right now.
Yeah, they're real. They're real with everyone. See, it's not fake.
Yeah. Yep.
I need to take a screenshot right now. All right.
Get the ghost. Get the ghost. All right.
Nice seeing you, Danielle.
Thanks.
Right. We have to push the button for it. There we go. All right. Next question, then I'll just go. In the future provider family, if I'm trying to pass class, it's calling multiple times. How to prevent this? I don't quite get it. Somebody else make sense out of that?
I know the fact I don't use any of the family stuff actually. I know there was like part of the API called family, but
so I know that when you
provider.
call a family, you need to have like a specific identifier separating that thing.
Right.
Is this? Oh no, this is Riverpod, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, this is Riverpod.
But it still doesn't make sense, even as Riverpod. Oh, I think it's because he's creating an instance. I'm presuming it's a he. Sorry, creating an instance of a new object, and of course that's going to mean every call is going to be a different provider, because that's the way family works. Family uses identity call on what the keys being passed in. Actually uses equality call. So use equality call.
Like I say, you could override equality and hash code, right? And that would probably
so it's equality. It's equality, not identity. Yeah, right. So it uses equality calls. That means you've got to get your equals working right. And unless your class has a deep equality override, this will break. So that's probably what's going on.
This is the reason that I use the freezed package in conjunction with Riverpod. Because freezed automatically, and in addition to a bunch of other stuff, freezed automatically gives you that deep equality override. You can also use equatable if you want, but I prefer freezed because it gives you a lot of quality of life.
The other thing is, if you want an aggregate of some kind, like a collection, a set, or a list, or a map, you can use fast immutable collections, which is in the pub. And it has good, deep equality for all of those. So if your provider key or your state needs to be just a list of something, then go look at fast immutable collections, and you can probably wrap it as an iList, which is an immutable list, which will give you deep equality and also the ability to be compared quickly, because it actually hoists the hashes all the way up to the top. So it's like boom, instantly. Yes, this is this same deep object. Exactly.
Yeah,
it can do that.
Mark Glassberg, who's been around the community for a very long time. It's good.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. Great code, and it works really well, and it interacts well as providing the. If all you're trying to do to an iList when it's been passed back as state is do things where you're reading from a list, it has all of that protocol. So that means nobody needs to care that it's an iList and not a list, which is really, really amazing stuff. So I really recommend that to solve something like this as part of the problem. Also, if you use, no, I was going to say generated stuff will do, but only if the top level is a list or a hash or whatever, or a list or a map. Anyway, that's enough of that. Any other answers on that, or can I move on? Nope. Okay. What is an unmodifiable list view? Its name is confusing.
Is it?
Hold on, I've got this. It is a list view that you can't modify. How close was I? How close was I?
I think probably the first line on the page.
I'm gonna explain this. The problem here is the confusion with the name. Is that list view is the name of a widget. In this case, a list view is a list view, a view of a list, which is not the same as a list view widget, right? So I think that's where the naming confusion comes from. So in Dart, this is not related to Flutter, right? So this to do with doing the separation here. List view as a widget is Flutter. A view of any of the content, like a set, a list, there's views of these things, is a proportion of the existing object. So let me explain. If you've got a, let's say you've built a list of integers, 1,000 integers, you can take a view of that and just say, I want a proportion of that, a sublist. That gives you a view. It's backed by the original list, but you've got a view into that list, right? Does that kind of make sense? So that's where list view comes from. So unmodifiable list view is exactly what it says. It's a view of a list that you can't modify. There you go.
Yeah.
Unmodifiable is there's actually unmodifiable set, unmodifiable everything basically, and that is just it throws an unsupported error when you try to change the items or change the length of the list.
I think this question is coming up because recently, with an upgrade of Dart from 3.4 to 3.5, was it? They got rid of unmodifiable views, or the way you make an unmodifiable view for binary data. And it confused everything. It made a breaking change, and people are confused.
So this actually comes from. I was actually talking to. I forgot his name. He works on the Dart language team, and he was talking. He's going to hate me with this. Well, no, he won't. But oh my god, the names escaped me. Anyway, we're talking at Flutter and Friends, and he did a great talk on Jason passing. Anyway, but what comes with this is kind of interesting because I mean you'll know this for sure, Randall. That is for historical reasons, a list of bytes, right, or an array of bytes. This is like a buffer of data. Now that's very compact, right? So each byte has a value of 0 to 255. It's not 0 to 64-bit, right? Like it's not an integer. Right. However, Dart treats them as integers. This is bad for memory and processing and a bunch of other stuff. There's good and bad things about this, but anyway, when it comes to like moving memory around and storage, it's kind of bad because you can move like 4 to 8 bytes, per cycle of the CPU rather than one integer, right? Like there's an 8x increase in essentially throughput you could get.
Right.
And he noted some of these things down in the talk, which is quite interesting. So go watch it. The Flutter and Friends videos are on YouTube. The entire it's like one video for the main session, one video for the studio room, the second room. Anyway, come back to the point here. In that is the list of int is basically been swappable with uint8 list in quite a few places in the API, and it just hurts performance. And most people don't realize you can just pass the uint8 list around, and you get views of those bytes. It's very similar to this. Comes back to this point. You can get unmodifiable byte arrays, which are basically views of the underlying buffer data, which means you're not copying that data around, and that's a byte view. There's several classes around it that I forget what they call it, but anyway, and I think there's more changes they want to do where they're basically getting rid of list of int and using uint8 list, right, where bytes are concerned. Because like when you, for example, when you read a block of data from a file, like the raw in the file class, it returns a list of int. But it is actually a uint8 list object that it returns, but because it applies the list in interface, it's compatible, right? But yeah, it's not truly a list of integer, right? Anyway, I'll shut up.
No, that's great. And again, like I said, I think this is coming up of what the heck is this, because again, between I think it was Dart 3.4 and 3.5 or something like that, they finally deprecated. There was like two different ways to construct these things. One way was relatively new, and the other way's been around forever, and they got rid of the forever one. And that's the problem. People that have really old code is breaking now. And there are some commonly used packages. I think Dio was affected and a few others that needed to upgrade so that they use the new interface, not the old interface. And then if you depended on an old version of Dio, then you got in trouble because now you're depending on something that's not in Dart 3.5. It's upgrades are fun. Upgrades are exciting, right? But
I'm still happy that we do breaking changes, that we actually have a way of moving code forward.
Right.
I mean, it is the death of apps to seriously to have backwards compatibility. You have no idea what worlds of trouble you get into when you need to support 10 different APIs, and you have to have fallback mechanisms, and it's never ending. And you have to put an end to these things. You have to put like a time basis because it moves forward so quickly. So yeah, definitely breaking changes. I'm happy about that.
Well, you end up with the Windows API, which has to.
That was exactly what I was about to come out of my mouth. Yeah.
We've all seen that. That's incredible. I mean,
and to a certain degree, from that one.
Yeah, and to a certain degree, Mac OS has got compatible legacy interfaces for a number of things. So
they're dropping a bunch of those. They're doing. Yeah. I mean, they have to. I mean, it's just not tenable to maintain that level of, that sort of level of compatibility.
If only they could have gotten it right 10 years ago, then we wouldn't be talking like this, right?
Well, it's quite funny because they're doing Universal. So Windows is doing what's it called, UWPs, Universal Windows Platform, which are apps. They have a limited use of the API, so you can't use all the old 16-bit APIs or even 32-bit APIs. There's a bunch of them you can't use, where they're basically trying to deprecate them, right? So by saying, if you wanted to release your app on Windows through the Windows App Store, you have to use UWP, means that your applications have to be built for the newer generation of Windows, right? And forcing people to get rid of those old apps or rewrite their apps ready for the new platform, which is good. And then they can once the store comes ahead again. It's kind of interesting. Until mobile came out, this notion of an app store wasn't even a thing, right? Like the fact that you could like download apps straight to your device from a store, that wasn't a thing. You'd go to a website, you get on a disc, you get a CD-ROM, like there was other media. Downloading, like it was considered wasteful to download apps, right? Because it was your bandwidth, your very poor bandwidth for communication, that you would rather be sent something on a disc or pick it up on a disc or a CD-ROM or whatever, right? And of course, internet's changed, media's changed, everything else. But now it's that kind of notion. I'm going to download my content each time I want to install this. I'm going to re-download it. Who cares about bandwidth? I'm going to re-download it. And yeah, like the fact is that the operating systems are the last ones to kind of pick this up, right? Like because they're kind of slower moving. Right.
I think one of the things that we are much more aware of in 2024 that we weren't 20 years ago was just how bad technical debt can get and is. And trying to maintain that level of backwards compatibility is truly a recipe for technical debt. And I think that you have to jettison stuff off at some point. Otherwise, you're going to be buried underneath of it, from a security standpoint alone, so.
It's like the strong suggestion when you're building a REST interface is to put /v1 in it somewhere, so that if you ever need to go to a v2, you can maintain code that does v1 and watch how many times people hit it, and then when that falls off to a acceptable tail, then you can deprecate that and just completely remove the code. What else? There was another thing that just got rid of all the Dart for example got rid of all of the null safeties or the non-null safe code support in Dart 3, and that was a necessary move because it was too hard to keep maintaining two copies of things that did something slightly differently constantly.
My only criticism is that they took so long to do that, to be completely honest. But
I think there's other things that had to happen, right? You got to remember there's always packages that have to be transitioned and everything else, right?
Right.
So it's not just the language that transitions, but then the team have to transition the entire frameworks and languages and everything else on the back end, and then they can get rid of it from the language, right? So
we are an ecosystem. Yes, we are an ecosystem.
I wanted to just, before we jump on another question, I want to share this. If anyone's interested in some of this, I highly recommend this book. The Old New Thing by Raymond Shen. He worked at Microsoft. I think he still does, actually. And it's got some really great tales of Windows development and all the different issues they came up with. But yeah, I'll put a link in the chat.
Cool. All right, moving on. This is a three-parter, so let's read all three parts here. I'm having issues with the implementation of multiple animated lists initially populated from a future list item. Each list groups items of the same status. I don't know if that means same list or are they different views on the same
There might be like items with a status on each one. So there's like group,
yeah,
3 lists, one with like success, failure, in progress, or whatever. Yeah.
And then continuing, I then subscribe to a stream that emits single item updates. My question is how to efficiently compare those lists. Should I do a for loop in the old and new list and did update widget? No. You're going to use sets and stuff.
I'm going to show you the thing you're missing.
And then compare everything for animated list. Yes. All right. Yes. Show us something. Show us a solution to this.
Yes. I just sent
yes.
chat before.
Was that what you sent? I didn't see that. Yeah.
That's
what I use for that same problem. Kind of gives you 2 diffs. Basically heavily inspired by diffutil on Android, which is basically the same thing. Just calculate diff to give it to a list, and it gives you the result. And then in the result you get what's been saved, what's been removed, what's been changed, what's moved its position. Yeah.
Nice.
And then
how did I not know about this? Oh my god!
He's like, oh my god, I needed this. Like I
needed this so many times. Yes,
well, this is the one. So I'll put a link in the chat for anyone that's interested. Yeah, it's the one. It's the one to go for.
I think I stumbled across that like 2 years ago, and I go, oh my god, this is so cool. And then I've forgotten that it's there. It's similar to when I'm watching Simon sometimes do live code, and he pulls out just a widget randomly, and I go, oh, that does that. It's like there are these hidden gems that are constantly in all the code that we're touching every day, and we don't recognize it. So, that's why I try to spend some of my time just kind of pawing through things, hopefully to see stuff new that's kind of like that. So that's kind of nice. All right, let's move on. That one apparently is solved. Well, do you think that solves the whole problem for Jim, or do you think there's some other details?
Multiple animators initially populate from a future list of item. Each list groups items the same status.
I think there's like a missing piece in here somewhere where he should have some sort of manager.
Yeah, I feel like so you've got a list, an initial list, and then you're getting an admitted event saying an item's been inserted or updated, and you're updating that list, and you can make a comparison to update the UI and did update widget. Yeah, I mean, you can do it that way. It works.
I think the problem is that this list merging and diff finding sound like model activity to me, not view activity. So I wouldn't want to see it buried in a did update widget. I'd rather see it over one layer over in your model layer somehow.
Well, no, animated list requires you to notify it when an item has been added or removed or changed.
Right. So the view is observing this model that is
all this. That's what I said about the stream. I'm also looking at this going, if the stream's emitting events, like update events, and the update event is going to be like an item added, an item removed, item update. If that's the case, that's exactly what you need for the widget. So maybe there's also a tighter coupling there where you've got a separate model that combines the list and stream, and then your widget listens to that type of view, and when the events come in and it emits and those events come back out, then those can want to achieve real-time list updates. I expect more than 200 items in each list. Yes, it's very efficient. Yes, in fact, I think it's the most efficient one.
It's using the latest in technology.
200 items is like nothing.
Yeah, right.
Like more,
Yeah,
even more. Like you can, yeah.
We're not even in the knee of the curve when you're doing a plot. Of
Like it says more than
times,
200, right? So, but even like 1,000. I mean,
Right. Okay, let me go the next one after Jim here, which is guess what? Connectivity. Isn't that something we know about? Because there's a community plus package, a community package for this.
Is of no help, he says. One way is to monitor network speed and use some internet lookup periodically. Is that what do you mean it's no help? It's called Connectivity Plus, and it is to check the internet connection. I think the problem here is Babish,
you want quality of
connection. has fallen into the trap
Yeah.
that all people fall into, which is connected doesn't mean you have internet, right? You're connected to a network, you're connected to Wi-Fi. Does that Wi-Fi have an internet connectivity? Who knows?
Yeah.
And by actually making a request and see if it doesn't go. So you can do the best thing you can do is tell the user that they're not connected at that time, which is maybe they're in airplane mode or something like that, and it shows that you can show that they're not connected. Other than that, yeah, you're right. Look into internet address lookup and do periodic DNS checks if you want to do that. I just don't see the point.
Yeah.
And what are you doing that requires them to do that? I mean, if something fails, like they're using, let's say you do a chat app, right? You got a series of messages and you got a chat box, right? We type a message and hit send. So they get disconnected, like they're still connected to their Wi-Fi, so connectivity still says they're connected, connectivity plus. However, their Wi-Fi disconnects, like the hurricane comes along and knocks out the internet supplier, right? Like they're typing a message, they hit send, and then it's up to you to build your application such a way that it then stores what they typed in a local database or a local file, and then shows that it's pending sending, is trying to send it. Think, I don't know, any modern chat application, right? And then it tells them it's trying to send it. And then after a period of time, if it fails, you can tell the user, could not send this. Do you want to try again? Whether I can manual retry button. Like, this is about making your UX support the fact that they're not always connected. Mobile devices are hideously, you don't, like, most people don't understand, because as a developer, you sit in front of your computer, you're working, and you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you're connected to your internet, so is your device. Most developers do not program for like offline very well. They don't program for bad connections. They don't program for any of this. And when you walk out, dog food your app, as they say, right? Use your own product. Walk out and about. Go on the subway. Do everything you can where someone might be traveling and trying to, commute and use your app and realize, oh my God, this is a hideous user experience. Because it will be. I guarantee it. And you need to make sure that you're thinking about how you build your applications to support that offline case. Not, I'm going to keep constantly go DNS, am I connected, and then disable the UI because they're not connected. That's not the experience that anyone wants. I can't think of any reason that you would want to check for connectivity other than to tell the user they're not connected.
Right, like an icon or something on the screen, but I don't really care about that. I only care that when I hit send, does it work?
Yeah, Matt, what do you have an opinion?
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is a question about, like, how do I do proper error handling, honestly, and how do I do, like, I made the request, it failed, now what? And I think that you need to think about that when you architect your app. It's less about making sure that you've got connection before you take the action, as opposed to taking the action and then handling whatever happens appropriately.
Yeah.
I think it's like extended even differently considering what your product and goal is. And I think the UX is really important here. If it is like some files that user gonna check, you can just download them beforehand, like maybe just 3 days of data that they're gonna need. Just download it, put it to the cache, and then like if something is failing, then they can still do it. You can still send your data to backend once you're connected to the internet properly. You can still give the offline performance anyway, if need. Like, definitely considering what do you need to do in that time.
I mean, so the problem is it's really hard to teach these things because it depends very specifically on your app and your use case of your app. We use the messaging one as a simple example, but complexity gets, when you start getting multiple components and they interact, like, it starts getting really complicated. So the answer is going to be very specific to your business logic and how your app works.
Let me tell you how not to do it. Okay. So
how
how
did you
not
do it,
to do
That's
it?
how you did it. How not to do it.
No. This is not how I did it. This is a place that I worked at, and I saw their architecture, and I died inside. Do not try to download everything your app will need to function the moment that it starts. Because you end up right. You end up with something that takes like 5 minutes to load, and then still doesn't work right when the connectivity issues come in. And this was
do you want the sorry? I have to get the worst experience I always have with apps. Splash screen tries to download everything, and you're on a bad internet connection, and you sit there. And I was looking at the data 5 seconds ago. It just so happens the app background itself will closed, or I'm reopening it, or whatever. I do not want to be sitting here waiting for this thing to get the data that I literally saw 2 seconds ago. Like,
yeah, I'm not going to give away the company that this happened at. Go to my LinkedIn. You'll narrow it down. But it was it was hideous. And I fought with senior engineers for months to get that changed. And they were not mobile first developers. They came from different backgrounds, and they just did not get it. But I mean, you need to be looking at small amounts of data, and using what you need when you need it, and then handling things appropriately when it fails.
Lots of caching.
Always caching.
Look,
and there's technologies like CRDT that can help out too, and there's that's all published in the pub, so go check that out. CRDT, once I discovered it, was amazing. It was like, oh, this has been around all this time, and I've been doing it the hard way. It's nice.
I think there's also room for data aggregation, right? So what I mean by that is, give an example. Your home screen has multiple widgets showing various different bits of content from across your product or products. And what a lot of people do in terms of the app is they'll call out an API for each one of these different pieces. And what you actually want is an aggregation API, which gives you everything you need for that screen to be populated, to be visible.
Right.
So this is an API that's specifically designed for the app and its UX, right? But what that does mean is that with a simple one call to the server, you can cache that data, you can show that data immediately on the screen. If they just then start sort of like scrolling lists of content and going further into the data set, then you go make further requests, right? But at least that initial set, if you go start making like 6 requests on a slow connection, that TCP back and forth, that sort of spins up the cell towers and sort of gets things done. That takes time. Making 60 connections is not going to make your app any faster. So
this is the argument for looking into things like GraphQL, which can aggregate a complex request and push the aggregation over to the server, so you're making one round trip.
Yeah, I like the idea of GraphQL. I hate the syntax.
Oh yeah,
I could not agree more. I love GraphQL. I love GraphQL because I can ask for what I need and just get it, no problem.
Oh, no.
Yes. The syntax is an abomination unto the Lord. I can agree.
Especially the mutable stuff, like calling functions. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So I have it on my bucket list to actually do my own one that's kind of around Dart. Maybe have like a Dart kind of syntax to it. I think that might be quite nice. But
copyright the name DartQL while you can.
DartQL, quick, get the package.
DartQL.
Yeah. So we're an hour into the show. I have 12 more questions.
We should get some more questions.
How do you want to do this? Do you want to stop taking questions in like 30 minutes or 15 minutes or 5 minutes?
How
much longer should we take questions?
Let's see how fast we get through the next 5 questions. There you go. And then we can make it.
All right. We'll make the call 5 minutes from now. All right, here we go. How to show multiple dialog box like page view. How to show a remainder for pay the bills.
Is dialog box the right tool for this?
Well, first of all, the immediate thing I see about this entire thing is multiple dialog box. I'm like, no. In no way multiple dialog boxes is a good thing. If you ever display a dialog box and you display another dialog box and then another dialog box and another dialog box, you are in UX hell. You're going to have navigation issues. You should just not do that. Have one dialog box with a page view inside. That makes sense. Or something like that, where you've got I'm giving the person this option that they're in a temporary state of navigation, which is a dialog box, and they can move some options and do some things inside this thing, and they can X out at any time. Sure, but Yeah, never dialog box on top of dialog box. Never do that. Right. Anyway, sorry. How to dial multiple dial? I think they just mean multiple text boxes, maybe. Like page view. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little tough.
This sounds more like a case where you should be thinking about your functionality and maybe not using a dialog box, but maybe creating a custom widget with some custom behavior.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to be here for like ages trying to guess what this says. Maybe clearly ask your question again, and we'll see what we can get to. But that last bit, to show remainder of pay the bills, means 0 to us. Like I don't see how that makes any sense to the question. I will say that you can display your own routes, and inside that route you can put a full screen page view, and inside each page you can just put a dialog widget in a center.
Right?
I can
already tell what time it's going to say with this. I can already tell what time.
One dialog box that's swipeable like page view. Inside the content, or the entire screen is swipeable. And
That's like inside the content.
Because I literally just explained that. Like if you want, we can do an example in a minute, right?
Anyway,
I think let's move on for now.
Yeah. Let's see here. What are people's thoughts on keeping components widgets in a separate library for a project? Any advantages over just making it easier to share these custom widgets with another project?
Yes. There you go.
Yes,
so there's actually is it one.pub? Is it one pub?
The one that lets you publish yourself?
No, what's the one? There's there's an open source, not open source. There's like private pub repos that you can set up.
Yeah.
Right? I can't remember.
There's the one that's done by the Mason guy.
Yeah. One pub it is. Oh, onepub.dev. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me bring this up on the screen for anyone that hasn't seen it. One language, one repository, one pub. So you can set up. It's not. I think they might have. I don't know if they got a free tier. I do have a free tier. There you go. 2 members, 25 private packages. Is that private packages? Yeah, in a repo, unlimited watches. Cool. And the idea being is that you can use this to essentially use the same pub API, and then inside your. Well, they should have an example on their homepage. That's interesting. It doesn't have an example on their homepage.
All this time, I'm just hacking my pubspec.yaml and pointing to a GitHub repository or a Git repository.
Yeah. So you can do that as well, right? Like it all depends on what you want to do, right? But if you're trying to share stuff between as a company, it's easier to as a company have your own hosted private repository, and then have those URLs in your pubspec basically. There's actually what's called host. I think it's host : you add to your package, and then it tells it which instead of pub.dev, you'll go to onepub.dev. Anyway.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Yes.
Where can I get one of those birdies?
One of these birdies.
Come to an event. Come to an event where they're handing them out. Yes. Or be like me and bug Neeli until she sent me one. Right.
Come to one of the FlutterCons. There you go. They're always available at FlutterCon.
Right.
So far. Okay. I shouldn't say that in the future. Hopefully.
So we're down to 12 again. Do you want to start cutting off?
Let's go. What did we say?
Okay.
10 minutes, and then we'll stop.
Another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes. All right.
Any
comments on Brick offline first with Supabase? Using for both local and remote. I don't know what Brick offline first is.
You're on mute, Simon.
Huh?
No, you're not.
You're not now.
Okay, don't know what happened there. No, I was going to say Brick. Isn't Bricks those components that you put together for what was the package?
Supabase.
No, VGV. Was it VGV made it? Wasn't it?
Oh, that's a Mason brick. I don't know if that's the same thing.
Brick. Isn't that? I wonder if that's what this package was.
No, Brick offline. What the heck? I got to look at Brick offline first.
I'm gonna look it up because I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe none of us have seen this.
If you've got Supabase and you use the Supabase as your back end, and you want, I guess, offline first, then this sounds like the package for you.
Brick is something here entirely different. It's Brick offline first combines SQLite and a remote provider into one unified repository.
It's it was like an unmodifiable list explanation.
Yeah.
So
what we any
Yeah,
comments
Brick,
on it
no,
if we don't know what it
okay.
is yet?
Yeah, Brick. This is what I was looking at. It wasn't VGV. Sorry, that's my automatic initiatives of a persistent Dart data in Dart. Yeah, no, I've seen this before. Brick. So this is like a common. Like the idea was that you've got a common pattern that you can work with. You can query and model the data, like GraphQL, Supabase, REST, SQLite. And this is Brick. I'll put this in the chat for anyone that's interested. I've seen this before. We actually were featured this on a show before. Yeah, and what was it? The offline versus Supabase. I mean, I've never used it, so no idea. But
Yeah,
I guess if you're using Supabase and you want offline first, that's the way to do it. Yep. Looks like it hooks up to SQLite. So you've got SQLite local and then Supabase remote, and it manages everything in between with a memory cache.
That's similar to the PowerSync. Does the same thing.
Wait, what was that? What was the syncing package you spoke about earlier?
PowerSync.
No.
Oh wait. Oh, RTDP. That's just technology.
No, they actually have a package. RT. Was it RT?
CRDT. I imagine you could use CRDT to build something like Brick.
No, we have Postgres CRTD, SQLite CRTD, SQL, Drift CRTD. So these are all like packages that let you work with these. So on your local machine, you could be on your app, you could working with like Drift, and on the server side, you could working with Postgres, right? And then have a turnkey solution with this sync package to join the two bits together, basically,
right?
With the WebSocket.
There are many ways to do this.
I know. But using it for both local and remote. I mean,
it sounds like go.
I was gonna say that sounds very local to me. I don't know. I would say remote. I mean, if you've got, I mean, I assume you mean remote by server. It says it's for like a server first package.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't normally want to cache anything like that on a server per se. Yeah, you would be careful with the source of truth, definitely on when you're building server side code.
Okay.
Anyway,
moving on. The white fox thing next to the tiger, is that a Pokemon?
This is the mascot for Flutterfly.
Oh,
there's the logo. Butterfly. One is no one.
Just like Pink Pooja about it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know the name. I should probably find out the name, shouldn't I?
It's
bad with me, isn't it, not knowing the name? Anyway, yeah.
All right. Anyway.
It's a fennec fox. If anyone's wondering what it is.
Oh, it's a fennec. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, same as the Firefox version, fennec.
And this one, I'm hoping we can just hand a URL to this person. 17-year-old Flutter developer for over 4 years. You've been 17 for 4 years. How did you do that?
I don't know.
I don't understand how that works
for a decade, so I don't
understand how this works. You're starting early doing that. I don't know. How can I join the GDG? I live in Jordan. If there's one in Jordan, it will show up on the GDG community dev website.
I would also, we can look at this now. I'd like to mention the Flutter Meetup Network for those that don't know this thing exists. 64 countries, 146 groups. 92,155 members.
Wow.
Just a few.
I'm one.
And all around. I'm going to show my my ineptitude here because I'm not sure where Jordan is. Oh, there it is.
It's right where it says Jordan, probably.
It's right where it says Jordan. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
There's Flutter Tel Aviv.
That might be tough to get to from Jordan.
Is it?
I think, isn't there political issues there?
I have no idea. There's always political issues.
The Middle East is a mess. We don't.
Yeah.
That's what the U.S. perceives of the Middle East. It's just a mess. And people have opinions about it. But also look at GDG Community Dev and see if there's a Jordan. There might be a GDG there that's not Flutter directly related.
If there is actually no network groups and you tend to host one, also if you have like, I don't know, experience or something, you can also like kickstart with some couple in-person events and then reach out to NL and like Flutter Meetup network group about it to launch your own and like just get some support to find more speakers, get more opportunities. You can also launch your own. It would be even better.
Right.
You can even start online to this.
I was gonna say you could start online first group, right? And
online first to share, then in-person meetings, coffee talks.
I don't know any city names in Jordan, but I'm sure I put the link to that website in the chat. Oh, GDG Amen.
Yeah,
there's a couple. Hang a minute, where am I? They were here. Hang on, let me load back up. Why are you showing me America?
Because they're showing you Jordan, cities named Jordan in the U.S. Yeah.
Oops. There's quite a few there. Look. So you've got Aman.
Aqaba.
Yeah, those. So
on campus.
That one.
On campus. The campus ones are probably restricted to the people from the university.
Yeah,
so
if
you're a student there.
Looks like, it looks like there's lots of stuff going on.
Lots of student ones.
Yeah.
But there were a
couple of universities will have them, but even then you've got these two here as well. I don't know which is closest city to you, but I hope you find the resources that you want, Adam. Yeah.
Yep.
Glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. All right. Stop ticking. We now still have 13 questions. Do we stop?
Yeah,
okay. 5 minutes. 5 minutes just to get your last questions in, and then we'll cut off. So we're cutting off.
Then we'll want to do some live
20 past the hour.
At the end of the show. Hopefully.
20 past the hour. We're going to stop.
Right.
Okay. Trying to get a WhatsApp status using in-app web view. Oh, why do you people keep using that? Having WhatsApp web opened and got a blob image, but unable to convert this image for iPhone. Can you guide me on this?
Yes.
Stop doing that.
It just sounds really, really bad idea. But if you've got it, but the question really is, I have a blob image data and you want to convert it to an image, right? And we actually do support that. So first of all, you get the byte array from the blob, and then you pass it to a global function in Flutter, which the name just escaped me. Image byte list to decode image. Oh goodness me, I've just forgotten it. The world's ending.
Well, let me just pause. Are we sure that there is no WhatsApp API that you can get this from?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but like the thing is, WhatsApp has like the whole sort of, it's all encrypted and stuff, so you might need to use the web thing to do it.
It's a blob URI.
Yeah. Well, so a blob URI is it? Well, do you have the first part of the URI you can paste in the chat? Did he do that? Well, it's fine. I mean, the URI is a blob URI is just a URI. It's base 64 encoded, right, Vic? Which is probably the bit you're missing. So it will. Well, in fact, for those that don't know, we can load it up.
And there's this blob URI is open directly as an image if it's in the browser, but in the app it's not. It's just probably the text.
I'm just trying to see if I can find the schema that people. Okay.
It's a base 64, so the data is already there in the URI.
Yeah, so this is the kind of format that you see. So data colon, then the content type. So it'd be like data colon image / JPEG, and then the content of the JPEG in base 64. Sorry, it would say base 64, comma, and then at the end it will be the actual content. So there you go, like that. Right. So what you do is you'd work out where the comma is by doing index of comma, right? Confirm that the beginning portion matches what you expect, and then take the last portion to the end of the string and run through the base64.decode function. What you get back from that is an array of bytes. That array of bytes actually has to go to the Dart API, and that's how you get an image from it. Hang on, let's see if I can.
I believe a URI constructor knows how to decode.
You mean the image.url?
URI.parse, I think, knows how to do it.
Oh yeah, no, URI.parse. Oh, it might do. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked. Either way, you still need to get that content, put it through base64. Like there's a, for those that don't know, let's just load up this because it's kind of an interesting little. We're actually getting some code. What people come here for, not to hear us chat around. So there's actually a global. Find it. Base64 constant in Dart convert, and you just do this base64.decode with that string, and what you're going to get back out of this is an array of bytes, right? That array of bytes, there is a global function, and I swear it's called decode image. Decode image from list. There we go. That's the one you want. And you pass it the bytes that you got back, and then in this function that you pass back, you'll get the image. This image is a raw image, right? So this is a Dart UI image. To display that in Flutter, you use the raw image widget. And then this takes the image as a parameter, right?
Yeah, if you hand that data URI directly to URI parse, you're going to get back a URI data object, which has a char set, a content text, an isBase64, a MIME type, and parameters. So you could have URI parse just take care of that data URL.
So is that URI data? Oh, look at that. I did not know.
Yeah.
I've learned something new. Look at that. I did not know this class existed. I like that. I like learning stuff.
Yeah.
So
if you hand a URL, the URL that starts data : directly to URI parse, you're going to get back one of these objects because that's one of the first steps in the decoding.
Yeah, is basically for MIME type parameters. Look, they are content as bytes, so we'll do the decode for you.
Yep.
So you get back the uint8 list. You pass that to
image from
decode image from list, which is a global function.
Yep.
And then what you get back is an image object that you then pass to. You can then save in your state, and inside your state, you can then use or inside your build, you can use raw image, and then use that image from your state as what you want to display, if you want to display it at all.
So I would love to take credit for what I'm about to share, but like a coworker of mine is watching the stream right now and like beamed me a suggestion, and it's, I think, way better.
Yeah.
And that is, if you know what specific images are that you're trying to share in terms of WhatsApp statuses, just run like a SHA-1 on the URL and then just compare the hashes. And that way you know what the status is, and then you can just update the app accordingly, and you don't have to do all this image processing.
I guess, I mean, I'm just assuming that they weren't like some sort of image that's coming back in terms of like you can update your last thing on WhatsApp, right? Like,
custom statuses. I see what you're saying. That doesn't work.
If it's just, I appreciate if it's something like away or online or offline or that kind of status, then you don't need anything.
But WhatsApp does allow for infinite numbers of custom statuses, so that makes sense.
Okay. I assume that's what it is. Anyway, hopefully that helps, right, Vic? And let us know if that does solve your problem.
All right, moving on. I don't know what this means at all. Dart mappable review. What could that mean? What's Dart mappable? I don't know. All right, moving on. Ask again, but ask longer.
More words. Use words.
All right. How to build a Flutter web app that's able to host locally in a local network, I presume, without the internet.
So
they
build a Flutter web app.
Yeah.
So everything that's shipped is shipped with inside your app when you do Flutter, when you do build. It doesn't require the internet to run a Flutter app.
Right.
Flutter web app.
I think
you can also use Jasper.
Yeah, I think what he might be talking about is the fact that you can't just point your browser at the top of index.html because of some relative names and mappings of names that the browser doesn't do correctly.
If you can on build, once you built it, you can. So it puts in the canonical URL base thing in the head, so that it maps the URLs correctly.
There's some relative names I've had to have troubles with where you can't just.
It used to have that problem, and then they fixed it. I'm trying.
They fixed it. That's even better. Sorry.
Here.
I'm a grandpa now.
I'll show you in a minute if we go to live coding.
All right, let's go to the next.
Anyway, the point here is for the answer to that question is you do run Flutter build. You're going to get your web folder, and then you can actually run it, but equally you can just host it. So what you're missing is a web server. And funny enough, in Dart you can run a web server, but the package that makes things life a whole lot easier. If you're just trying to do this for like development and testing purposes, at least, is a pub package written by you'd say that, yeah. Written by Kevin Moore and DHBD. So what you want to do is do Dart pub global activate DHBD, and you just run that inside the directory of Flutter Web, and that's it. You get a web server running on local host that you can play around with. Now, what you can do is if you ensure that, I think this actually listens on all, actually defaults to local host. So let me explain the magic here, right? So the magic is, what you need to do is specify -- host equals 0.0.0.0. So 40 separated by dots. That is basically saying all interfaces on your local machine that will mean that will be accessible on your Wi-Fi IP address or your local network IP address to the rest of the computers on your network. By doing that, you can then essentially access your Flutter web app from anywhere on your local LAN or network without the internet. So you just type in the IP address of your machine that's hosting it, and it will just pop up with the port, obviously. In this case, 8080. If you just put port 80, it will just work without any port number because that's the default port for HTTP. So
actually, I'm going to disagree. Local host is 127.x. It's not 0.0.0.
No, you don't want. No. He wants to access his local network.
So he needs to set that 0.0.
Yeah. So you do -- host equals 0.0.0.0.
Right.
Which I missed that part. And then that will then mean all local interfaces, not just local host.
Right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. You were violently agreeing with me. Okay, so I just missed that statement earlier. All right. Moving on, because that one I think we're hammered on. I'm using HTTP package and slow internet. Aren't we all using a slow internet at some point or another? If I'm calling one request, again, I'm calling another request. Now, how to cancel previous request?
I have something for you. It was added to the HTTP package recently. And I saw this and I was like, finally, we have it. It's in a new version.
Finally. Yes. Show it.
So I believe I'm looking at the wrong package, but we'll find out.
I know Dios had it for a while. Dios definitely had it for a while.
So when you have
this is one of the reasons that I use Dio actually.
Oh no. No.
You can stop doing that now because you can use the real thing.
I haven't used Dio for ages,
Okay.
No, it's actually built into the underlying Dart stuff as well. Yeah.
Oh, good.
There's the function called abort, and it is on. Really not that one. Oh my god.
You had it in your search for a second.
No, I know. I'm going to the base. Hang on. I know where I'm going.
Sure.
There we go. It was added in Dart 2.10. There you go. So, so with basically you're making a request, you haven't got the response yet. You can abort that request by calling the abort function now. So it's been there a while. Don't get me wrong, but equally, it's one of those things that really hasn't like sunk into a lot of people. So here's an example here. You can say get this data, and then you get back your request object. And at some point, you could say, I want to abort if it's not been finished yet. So you then do your close. And once the response comes back, you can then cancel the timer, right? This is a really crappy example, to be fair. But yeah, there's a ton of ways to do this. Timer is not like this. Anonymous timer is definitely the one I would use. But the point here is that when you start your request, you can actually abort it as it's going.
I would say just use Dio. that's honestly my answer.
Dio works.
Just use.
But the point
Dio.
is, they were asking about using a HTTP package.
I gotcha.
Interesting enough that don't know if that flows through. I mean, so this is the raw HTTP framework. It's HTTP client request, which has the abort method. There is also cancelable future. It'd be nice to actually have a cancelable future come back from the HTTP package that automatically calls the abort. That would be really helpful. I do think, I wonder if I go back to the HTTP library, if I thought.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the
HTTP
HTTP package passes that through, because everybody uses the HTTP package, not the
so
not the
this. Yeah. You take your request, you use stream response. This sends the request. I wonder if this. Yeah. So what you're missing on here is there's nothing in here that's passing on. At least specifically passing on the abort signal. So you can get to the base request, but then the request itself is not abortable. I think you've just found something that could be improved. There you go. Submit a PR. Implement it, Madhan. Now you know what to do. Do it.
One, probably it is not like the solution, but how would it be if we are having the client and then like closing it afterwards while we are not using it? I mean,
so
totally
if you close the client, so here's the problem, right? You close the client, it will abort the connections for sure, because it will just terminate the IO socket, right? The problem you've got is that you don't want to do that if you just want to cancel a request and continue with a different request, for example. If you close the client and reopen the client, there's a lot of overhead in terms of initializing that initial connection. That is going to slow you down. So ideally, that's not the case. I mean, I've seen it before. People just create clients for every single request. I'm like, no, don't do that. Yeah. Why is my app so slow? Yeah, that's why. The other thing you can do is like look at the if you are querying why maybe your connections are so slow or what's going wrong. Check out the HTTP tab in Dart Tools, and sorry, DevTools. That gives you a lot of debug information. Really helpful.
Yep. All right. That's that. Let's move on. Yes, when running my app with initial routes defined in my main app and entry point, main.dart, do I need to modify any other file to allow it to run in both release and debug mode? Why should you have to modify things to change modes?
I don't know why. Yeah, maybe I'm not following the question. Do you want to change the initial route based on release and debug mode? Because you definitely don't need to change anything. What you might be running into, though, is if your app is already running, the initial route will not be applied because your app is already running. It's not the initial route that you're loading with. So you need to make sure that, if you're doing hot reload and hot restart, your initial route has no impact, right? It needs to be like a fresh load of your app for the initial route to actually be applied. So maybe that's what you're running into, that it's not seeming like it's being applied. I don't know. Yeah, you shouldn't need to make any changes. Hopefully that helps.
Yep, hopefully. All right. Here we go. When there is no internet, how long to wait before checking if it's available to grab more info from the internet? How patient are you?
Do it when the user actually performs some actions. There you go. To be honest, there's actually a great talk that was given around the cell radio on phones. The cell, basically, what you don't want to do is constantly be poking the internet every few seconds, because it keeps the cell radio inside your phone powered up on high power for a very long period of time. That consumes the battery, right? What you want to be doing is spacing things out over a long period of time. Now, what's interesting about this is that is what Android and iOS do. When you make requests for timed actions in the background, they will group them into slots of 15 minutes or thereabouts. And if there's other events that occur, for example, your phone connects to Wi-Fi, like you come in range of your home, most people have probably seen this that happens. And that is, as they go home, suddenly they get a bunch of notifications like, where was all this stuff, right? And that's because your phone connects to Wi-Fi, initialized it, then kicked off its background set of background tasks, and all the apps went into say, I haven't got any notifications. Yes. Also, the Play Store goes checks for push notifications and things, and you just get all the stuff coming at once, right? And that will happen in slots of like 15 minutes as well. And this is to stop your battery from being just blasted all the time from high power cell use, high power CPU use, high power memory use, everything, right? So in truthfulness, most app sessions are between 5, maybe 15 minutes max. Like most people don't sit in an app for hours and hours and hours. bar YouTube Shorts and things like that, TikTok, like people don't really use apps for a very long period of time. They go in there, they do what they need to do with that app, and they leave. Right? Obviously, it depends on the app. Right? I'm not going to say otherwise, but you can actually work out
what I was about to say. Is like we don't know their business case, and without knowing the business case, we don't know the answer to that. So that answer should be driven by your
I will say,
case.
I will say though that you can find out your session times. So if you got the standard Firebase Analytics package, it will tell you how long people are staying in your app for, what the session duration is when using your app. So it records when they opened it and when they closed it, and works out how long the duration of using your app was for. Anyway, but the point here is, I mean, if they don't have internet when using your app, and then they go to perform an action app that requires internet, try then.
Yeah.
Right. And what you can do, there's neat tricks you can do. So, for example, if you fail that, so you set your first timeout duration, duration of your connection to 30 seconds, right, or thereabout. That's a reasonable timeout for an initial connection. But then if you fail with timeout, like they're not connected, or failed to connect or whatever, then you can go, make my next connection timeout within 5 seconds, within 1 second, right? Mm-hmm. So that they're not sitting there waiting for these things to time out. But again, this comes back to the abort thing. What you actually want to do in that situation is when they leave that section of the app and the request hasn't succeeded, you need to abort the request, because what's going to happen is once they get online or whatever, it's suddenly going to make all these requests happen, all this stuff happen to such an app, and you're going to be like, why is my app just lagging or going to hell? It's because you're just not managing your backend correctly.
About that, while checking, I just saw something called exponential backoff. Backoff.
Yeah.
Like it was
the exponential backoff.
It was just showing literally what you directly mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, so you can do exponential backup on a per request basis, but then if you kind of want all your requests to be exponentially back, it depends on what you're doing. Again, use case. I'm not going to go into it, right? Look into it. There's great if you're interested in retry logic, there's a package called Retry on Pub, which does exponential backoff. Is that what you're going to say? Sorry, Ezra, was that what you're going to say?
No. I'm just checking retry package right now.
All right, yeah. So the retry package, it retries a future with exponential backoff, which means you can retry any of your code with exponential backoff. It's wonderful. It's not limited to HTTP, or you can use DO. You can do whatever you want, and it will just work. So there's
also a package called Ribs that is hopefully the successor to FP-Dart, because FP-Dart's been handy in terms of functional programming. Ribs, in its equivalent of a future managed as a higher order type, actually has the ability to have exponential backoff and alternates and stuff like that as part of its idea of a future task of some kind. It's really kind of cool. It's all baked into the higher order type.
You're going to start talking about monads next.
Yes, right. I'm not going to say the M word. It's fine. I was just going to completely avoid that.
Right,
just going to completely avoid that. Let's move on. Let's see. Yeah. Why is it on mobile? We do not have solid frameworks for developer speed, like say Ruby, PHP, JS, and Python. We do. It's called Flutter.
That was it.
That. It's a simple answer. And here's the follow-on that still shows why you're missing the mark slightly, because as we have back, I'm concerned about the mobile UI side. That's what Flutter is. Flutter helps you. Flutter makes things
React
easier.
Native, but mainly Flutter. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, right. Yes.
I mean, the problem, I have to be honest, the problem I've got with a lot of that came out wrong, but it's not really a problem. It's this thing that kind of irks me. Like a lot of developers now, they come out and they go, why is there a framework or package that does this for me? And it's like, because it's your job. That's what you need to build, right? That's why I come out that way, like, because you need to do it. Because no one else has done it yet, so do it. I mean, right. It's that kind of thing, right? It's that idea of like people come out and say, "Oh, it should already be there," right? And I'm like, well, no. You don't get to just glue things together. There's a lot of programming now that is just taking APIs and kind of just gluing them together, right?
Right.
That's not programming, right? It's like we talk about like these algorithms, like sorting lists and so on. When did you last use an algorithm to like, do anything, right? Like it's not as popular as it once was because there's lots of frameworks and libraries. And it's the same thing that comes to this, right? Like
the fundamental
there's
job
plenty
of
of
developer
packages and
is to solve problems. Our job is
Yeah.
to solve problems. That's what it comes down to.
with code.
And not every problem is going to be solved for you. And if you can't solve problems, then you should probably not be a developer. But that's a little bit more force. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I came out way wrong, guys. I'm sorry.
No, but the thing is, it's also something that's saying that you can learn, right? Like it's interesting to talk about, but like Boolean algebra, logical thinking, and architecture. These are all things that at the very beginning, when you're first learning stuff, you're like, oh my god, I'm never gonna know this thing, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. But with enough repetition, with enough practice, with enough effort, you will learn these things, and then you'll put them in. You can put them into practice, right? And I think that's the thing that like a lot of people think they can just computers move so quickly, but they think they can just come in and just go like, oh, I can just do this really quickly and it'll just work, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things like Flutter that make things super straightforward and easy for you to do, but then the curve to difficulty goes up, right? Because to go the next level deeper or the next level deeper than that, you require you to have knowledge and practice, and you need to practice to learn, right? Or learn to practice, whatever. Right, I'll shut up. That was my rant. Right, what's next?
That's good. Let's see here. Moving on. Let's see. Oh, the next one's for me. I can do this one. If you had to choose between RiverPod and Inherited Widget, Simon's architecture in the WoW Shopping app, although you're building it now again with RiverPod, right? Aren't we doing that together?
Yes, we'll be doing that.
So yeah, so what would you pick? Well, I'd pick RiverPod now because we're going to have an example of the WoW Shopping app done in RiverPod because that's what this sequence we're doing sort of as a separate workshop.
Yeah. So we've basically GDG London and Flutter London joined together to do. We do this every year. Flutter Dev Camp. We've been using the WoW Shopping app as our like go-to example thing, and this year we're going to be converted. We're doing a RiverPod special. And we're going to be trying to convert the WoW Shopping app completely RiverPod, and then RiverPod, everything RiverPod.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting because I've never built a full app in RiverPod, so this is a learning experience for me.
Yeah, luckily I'm riding along, even though I have to get up at 2 a.m.
Matthew just looked incredulous there, like, oh my god, you've never done that? I'm like,
seriously, I'm surprised because like I've used a few different state management systems now. I've used Block, I've used RiverPod, I have done just straight Inherited Widget. RiverPod by far is my favorite, just because of the sheer flexibility of it. I think Block is fantastic when you've got 30 developers and you need to make sure that they're all doing the same thing. That rigidity is helpful, but I think if you've got a formalized architecture, you can resolve that using RiverPod. I could go on all day gushing about RiverPod, but it's definitely my state management of choice. I can't believe you've not done a full app in it, Simon. That surprises me.
He will soon.
Never come up. And the
enough,
thing is, I'm also not like shying away from it. Like it's not like it's not like just it's always good to try these things, right? Try everything, see what you like, see what works for you, see what works for your application, right? And then the day is like I've never had anything that required really like anything more than what was basic built into Flutter, and like that's fine by me. That that works. You don't have to use Inherited Widget. Like provide also kind of. Or what was the other? There's a couple of other libraries that just wrap Inherited Widget and give you a slightly better interface, right? RiverPod is a completely like left field thing, right? Like it's a whole, it's RiverPod or nothing, right? Like in terms of it's a whole architecture in of itself, right? And you can mix in like Page Notifier and other things, but it's very much like integrated within its own self, right?
It's the change between listenable and provider listenable that allows for a lot of the coolest features of RiverPod, but it does require shifting gears and requires setting up a provider container that can do the management that normally is done by the Flutter framework itself.
Yeah,
and so that there's getting used to that sort of stuff does. It's
also a paradigm of the way that you think about things, right? Because effectively by setting up the providers in RiverPod, you're setting up think of it more like a pipeline, right? You're thinking this static connection, you're setting up a web of flow of data. not necessarily the actual state moving around it. That is what happens at runtime, and that's a perceptual thing that people don't quite get, right? Like,
the ability to aggregate providers watching other providers is so much easier in Riverpod than it ever was in provider package proper. And
let me give an example of why I love Riverpod so much. Okay, sorry, Randall, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay,
Randall loves it as well. Don't worry.
In a production app that I have to work on, users can belong to literally hundreds of different organizations. And the moment you change that organization, everything about the app has to change to reflect what organization that you switched to. Because all of my Riverpod providers watch that one organization provider, the moment that one organization provider change, absolutely every other piece of state in the app knows it's invalid and has to refresh itself. And that is a very easy thing to do. You can do it in other state management systems. I'm not saying this is exclusive to provider. What I'm saying is it's very easy to do that type of thing in provider. And I found it very useful.
That what you just explained is the atypical example of state management, right? Like that is it. Like you want to link state together when one piece of state, active state changes, all the other things that depend on that state also change, and then your app can then your UI and your behavior of your app can then reflect the state change.
The core of any state management is locatability, observability, and getting the current value. And I think Riverpod has simplified all three of those aspects of it down to just its bare components. And I think that's part of what does it. So it makes any chunk of data that you care to produce observable. And then it also says, how do I update this chunk? It has many different mechanisms for that. Notifier methods, watching other providers, things like that, timers, whatever you want. And so it's basically, I liken it to Lego. It's just like it is building blocks. You do want to put them together to make it work the way you want. And so I'm happy that we're redoing the Wow Shopping app with that. I guess Simon figured I would be talking long enough after this that he wouldn't need to be here for me to.
Lego bricks is the way to describe it, though. Honestly, it is really like state management applied as a Lego bricks, and it makes it very easy to just snap together and build whatever you want. And it also means that when you need to change things, it's very easy to pull things apart and put them back together again if you've separated your state in a logical fashion. So yeah, no, I'm with you.
The other thing I like about it is that Remy has worked really, really hard in thinking about the edge cases and the corner cases that a lot of the other people never get to yet. I mean, Remy said in the live chat on his Discord that anybody can come up with a change control system, a state management system in a good afternoon, right? But what they're going to be missing is all the corner cases. So, for example, if my provider depends on a different provider that throws, what happens? And he's thought through all that of how to make those work and ripple properly and to be testable at that level. And his test suite is phenomenal. I learned so much about Riverpod actually by studying the test suite. And it tells me, oh, I can do that with providers. And it's like, I didn't realize they plugged together that way too. And it's so nice to have someone who's really an expert and really, he earned his chops on provider. And so it was nice that then he could say, I want to put everything about provider aside and start over again. And this time we'll have provider listenable be the core aspect of it because we couldn't get that same support from the Flutter team.
Sorry, I had to dip out there. Did you cover one of the big reasons why Riverpod was invented?
I actually didn't quite get to that. That is that there is a inherent flaw in inherited widget that the core team refuses to fix because it might break other things. So right now we're stuck with but the nice thing is that means that we're not tied to Flutter with Riverpod. We can use it in Dart, and I have done that with Dart programs. I have built entire structures, particularly in caching URL requests. I did a crawler that crawled web pages to do link checking, and I was able to use the Riverpod as a built-in cache, as well as a sort of an asynchronous manager for getting each of those pages. And that was all, I pushed that all down into the provider for that stuff. So it was really nice. So, yeah.
Someone said inherited thing. I think
inherited widget. Inherited widget, right?
So just to give a little bit of knowledge about this. So when you register inherited widget, there's no unregister, right? There's no way of saying you do of and you're linked, right? The two widgets are linked. The widget literally has to be removed from the widget tree, or essentially like forgotten about, and then that widget is then removed from being that not a child. There's another name in the framework for it anyway. Basically, listening to that inherited widget. So when you want to do some sort of maybe top level things, that's not necessarily great because you have to rebuild a large portion of your UI and some other things. So there's no unregister basically on inherited widget, and that's the thing that really, if you want to do some really good state management and moving stuff around, that's a problem, right? Because you want to be able to like shift and move. Yeah.
Well, so and here's how Remy sort of came to this conclusion when he was trying to make the equivalent in RiverPod of where you're doing on dispose. So in other words, have a hook that when people stopped watching you, the hook would get called. And that is important to use. We use it to cancel timers for self-updating caches, things like that. We need that on dispose hook. You cannot do that with inherited widget. You cannot. And that's what he asked this core team to change, but they wouldn't do that. I understand their reasons, but it does mean that Remy was forced to start over. And that's where we get provider listenable and provider containers and all the wondrousness of RiverPod.
I really like the idea of like a new conceptual disposable to be added to the framework. There's too many times when you want something like this was brought up in hooks. I think it was a hook widget where you do use, right? Where the idea being that, I'm going to use a controller, and because a controller can be disposed, it knows how to free that up once that resource is no longer required. And I think it'd be nice to have some similar concept in the framework that makes it more opinionated, right?
Right.
And there's certain things in the framework which like listenable, we have to use it everywhere, controllers and everything else. But there's definitely some great to have some more structure, I think, being brought in. Like those days, it's so hard to position this in a way. In the alpha days of Flutter, these things were being invented. We were there. And it was like, oh my God, this is such a brilliant concept. Oh, if we change like this, we can do that and the other. And because it was alpha, we were just making the changes, right? Like the team was making the changes. And we talked about this earlier about having this technical debt. You get to a point where like, I can't make that change without. It's a fundamental piece of the architecture that means it would just break everything, right? So I kind of like the idea maybe like they introduce something new to replace inherited widget and deprecate it, right? That would be really nice built into the framework, right? Like having disposable, having this notion that, you can have a disposable like listener, I don't really want to call it widget, which basically means that if you use any disposable object within that widget's build, it will automatically be disposed. These are great things that could go into the framework. But then again, here's the issue that now the team has to maintain new code, right? So this is where packages come in, right? The idea that, okay, you have the hook packet, you have the hook widget package, you have RiverPod to give you those additional things on top of the framework, right? So, and they're being maintained by their authors, right? And not by the core team. So there's the core team, the idea of having a framework should be to facilitate those things, right? To enable those things to take place, and not to just keep bundling content into the framework. As much as we want that, the ability to just go, it's just there, and you have to find a package. Equally, it's not tenable, right? So you have to just keep adding code and maintaining more and more code, right? It'll be to that point like, they're adding all this stuff, and then we want like this app person that's using their app and they haven't migrated for ages, and they're like, deprecate it, remove it. And it's like, well, why did you do that? And like I was using that in my app. It's like, well, this is why packages exist. You version packaged independent of the framework.
I just pasted Remy's pull request that would have actually added this disposable to the widget structure, and you get to see the dialogue between him and the people on the Flutter team to actually see how this fell out, and that the PR is now closed, and that's why we have Riverbot. So that's probably enough on that. We've probably beaten that to death. Hopefully, if you're in the workshop team, you'll appreciate that this is good background information for you as well. One more question, and then I have a point of order, and then we can start doing live coding. So there's the last question. Could you quickly cover the basics when working with an app badge? I want a notification counter on the app icon. So a few libraries, but I was wondering if such a thing isn't built into the framework. I don't think it's built in.
It's not built in for a reason, because it's not standardized.
Ooh.
It's that simple. It's specifically native to the platform, so it's not going to be in Flutter. It's going to be a plugin, and you're going to go find a plugin to do that, and then it'll be different. And then, like, here's the problem: Samsung do it one way, LG do it a different way. And like, the idea of having like a notification like count on an icon, you can have like a dot, like a little dot on the thing. That's now built into like Android, right? And you can like control that. But yeah, like there's various different like manufacturers that have different ways of doing it, and sadly they all require specific bits of native code, and it's not gonna be simple. No. If you want to do notification count on app icon, I don't know of a particular package that just does that, although it would be really handy to have. I do know that local notifications will actually show the dot if you have a notification in the tray. So you can use local notifications package to do that. I don't know if I've got anything else to add to that. Anyone else? Sorry, I kind of just like smashed it.
I don't. I actually have to hop off. I have to jump over to another meeting. But
thank you for
it was
joining
good
us,
chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. This was fun.
Come by anytime.
It was good seeing you guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
All right. No. All right. So the point of order, point of whatever, right? October 27th, November 3rd. October 27th, November 3rd. Why are those two important dates? One of them is when Northern Hemisphere DST changes for most people. The other is when DST changes for the crazy US, which is different from the rest of the world. Luckily, there's only 1 week between the two this time, so it's not too bad.
Is that
October 27th, November 3rd?
Is that because they're on different like sides of the earth? Does that make a difference?
Different definitions of when it occurs, a third Sunday or the fourth Sunday or whatever.
Yeah, well, all I know is it wreaks havoc for me being the UK dealing with US people, because it's like every meeting for a whole week is just out by an hour somewhere.
Right. So my question:
by the time you get a handle on it, the week's finished, and then it all changes back again.
Right. So my question is: the Wednesday between those 2 days, are we going to go early or late? Are we going to go according to UK time, or are we going to go according to US time?
The reason why we always go by US time is because it's early in the morning. So there's always a chance that 9 a.m. start is easier for most people in the US. So it probably will change. And then it would be 1 hour later in Europe, basically.
So we'll be falling back on October 27th. So the show that's on the 29th, 30th, whatever that one is going to be according to US time at UTC -8 compared to UTC -7 as it usually is. Yeah. Still 9 a.m. here though, so it's like 9 + 8 is 17 UTC rather than the normal, which is 9 + 7 is 16. So yeah, 16 UTC.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easier for people in Europe to do to do 1 hour later mostly than to do 1 hour earlier in the US. But
okay,
I mean, people want us to do it the other way. I don't mind. Like, makes no difference to me.
Well, this is why I brought it up as a point of order, because we really need to discuss this before we get too close to that day.
We got weeks away. We got 3 more shows before that.
Defer to the next week. Okay,
defer,
all right,
exactly. Oh wait, defer everything. There you go.
But October 27th is coming up. All right. Anyway, so start your coding.
What are we going to do? So I have some requests made from previous shows we could look at. I could also show the flexibility. Oh, Robert's here. Hey, Robert. Got any requests?
The golden week. Yeah, the magic week where everybody gets confused. Everybody gets confused.
UCT. No, it's UTC. UTC,
UTC, because it deliberately is out of order because the French wanted to make sure it didn't actually pronounce anything, because it's one set of words in French, another set of words in English, and so UTC is neither of those deliberately.
It's kind of interesting to think that there was a time in the world. That's ironic. There was a point in time where different countries could not agree on time.
Yeah,
they still can't necessarily, but even worse than it is now. Like you would literally have, I think Paris, or France and UK could not and so Denmark, I think it was as well, had completely different ways of doing time, and they're completely different. It just didn't make sense. Basically, time zones wasn't a thing. But yeah, I don't know. Just, do you know what's even worse? Is if you're writing software that has to deal with that.
Or when you have people who are running workshops send out announcements that say GMT when they mean London time.
Yeah,
because that puts me off by an hour.
Which is BST, right? Because we respect
BST is what it should have been, not GMT. GMT is still UTC always. So it was off by an hour for me when I was trying to join.
It doesn't help that we have two names for basically the same thing. We're kind of not really. Whatever. I'm not going to go there. Right? Maybe.
This whole court's out of order. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So,
it's up to you, Simon.
If you are switching the live code, then maybe I can also jump off meanwhile.
Oh, sure. If you need to.
Then
come back anytime.
Nice to see you. Anytime. Come back.
Give a talk about patterns. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Why not? I will just say it to Daria first.
Cool.
Right. Well, we'll see you again soon.
Oh, we need to push a button for her. We need to push a button for her.
Bye.
Oh, you want to do that? Or you want me to do it? Yes, you're doing it. All right, there we go.
Right, I'm going to take these out because after 2 hours, that's a bit much.
I'll probably hear echoes of me.
Well, hopefully you don't.
We'll see.
Right. For anyone that's watching, feel free to ask questions about the code. We won't be taking. Try not to take general questions because it's distracting, right? All right. So what are we going to do? What are we going to have on live coding exactly? Well,
that's what he's working out right now.
So this is what I talked about earlier, by the way, Randall. The base href that gets inserted when you do Flutter build.
Yeah, that's always been there for forever, but
local.
Yeah, that's always been there forever, but the file URL didn't work.
--base href.
Yeah. That technology's been there for a while.
Hear you. Is that you or me?
I am talking. I am continuing to talk. I didn't change anything.
That's interesting.
I didn't change anything. Maybe I should do that in the private chat. Here, hold on. Where's private chat?
My speakers have died.
Blah 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 blah. Still talking. Still talking.
That was going wrong.
Still talking. Nothing.
Oh, the space
changed at my end. Simon needs new speakers.
Speak to me.
I'm speaking to you. I am speaking to you.
I can hear you. There you go. Problem solved.
Now you can hear me? Okay. All right.
I think you decided to connect back to the Bluetooth. Anyway, right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. Anyway, all right. I don't know what we're talking about. But we're going...
I was actually saying while you were describing that href that was in there before, but they must have switched something else around so that you could open it with a browser, because you couldn't open it with a browser for a while.
So if you have, this is what we did last week.
Yeah, cool animation.
We
fire danger level. We
did have an issue around the shape of these, because these are supposed to be, in the original design, these are supposed to be square and not the shape they are now, which I forget what it's called. Anyway, so we could look at fiddling around with that a bit more. There is Madan is still here. There was a request around that dialog box stuff, which we could look at. To Madhan Kumar.
Yeah, he's
still
there.
around.
He just asked
If
a
he's still
question.
around, speak up, and we can.
Yeah. He asked a question 3 minutes ago.
He did. So he's probably still here then. All right. Well, we could give that full dialogue thing a go, right? So.
Yeah, the carousel dialogue box.
Yeah, let's do.
Oh, that could
carousel.
be. That's a mix of things.
Let's do a carousel dialogue box thingy me bob. How's that? That's a technical. That's a technical name for it.
With drag and drop customization. No, okay. Thought, why not just throw some weird stuff in there?
Just more words. More words.
Yeah,
what can go wrong?
I know.
All right, so let's just start off with.
While you're getting set up, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Sure.
I'm still listening.
I'm going to do a tap dance once you're away. Right. We're just going to nuke. So I've already saved the previous code. This is just a copy of it. And we're just going to set up here just so we got like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to pretend that's not a problem. And hopefully... Let's see what happens. So there we go. There's a little empty test app. So the point, carousel dialog box. Yeah. So I mean, like, here's a question: were you talking about a carousel in a dialog box, or the dialog box itself carousels to another dialog box? Because I mean, yeah, both are flexible. I mean, both are flexible. You just tell me what you're looking for. So I guess we want, we'll call this, I don't know. I'm going to carousel page. And this doesn't help. You're not displaying another dialog box like carousel. Okay, multiple dialog boxes. That's what we're doing. If you don't want it, tough luck. Right.
Okay. Back again.
Hey, he's back.
Yes.
Do that. I mean, this is the kind of thing that most people are looking for.
You're returning material because you're in a separate context tree? Because you're in a dialogue that's separate?
Nope.
I mean, why are you returning material on that one then?
Hang on. Bear with me.
Okay. All right.
I feel like there was a way of putting I thought there was a way of putting a rounded corner on that without having to do anything else. But okay. That'll do. Let's just clip it for now. So what were saying?
Oh, I was asking why there was a material widget in there. Is it because you're in an isolated context tree? And
oh no, it's just because I wanted like a base material because there's nothing else going on here, right? So no scaffold.
Oh, okay. So you needed, no scaffold.
So there you go. So we got like a white base, and there's our dialog box. Not respecting my center, because of the aspect ratio. We need a size box. Let's just do a size box because I'm being lazy. I just want like a little example here. There you go. That'll do. That'll do. There we go. Right. So, like, you know, you can do this all day, right? Like there's a ton of ways of doing this. As you can see here, we've got a dialog box and a carousel, right? So if we wanted to, we could add in here, wrap this in a column. and add like a row with, let's just do something like this for a second. Text, title, close button. And we'll just do, yeah. And wrap that in. Now I'll stop the overflow that's taking place because we're just getting the right size. There you go. So we've got like a little dialogue. Right, with our content, we can X out, we can close it. Now that close is going to close the route, right? Because that's the default for close button. However, close button, you can also override the on pressed, and we can do that ourselves. So now we want to kind of swipe this to another dialog box. Well, you can just stick this in a page view. I mean, you could take this and have and let's do, I guess we should probably do some different content. Page 1, 2, 3. I know that'll do. Yeah, this is what it's going to do. Right, where was that child? Yeah. I mean, you can also use a material one, right? Like material dialogue, alert dialogue. Content, isn't it? Content alert. I don't know. I don't think it actually looks much different anyway. It's required. Get rid of those errors. I mean, it gives you some padding. We actually have a title that we can throw in here, and get like a
title
icon.
What icons? The icon.
No, apparently that does that.
That's the icon for the dialogue, not the.
Yeah, I thought there is a way of doing it. I just can't remember what the thing is. I really don't care. Like it's a widget. I don't know. No, let's just take it back.
It has the configuration.
There we go. Like, we have our own thing going on, right? And then there's a placeholder right now. We can just put child. Onto that for the moment. And so the whole thing's constant. Yeah, right. There we go. So right now, this means I can now swipe it left. Page 2, page 3, page 2, page 1. Is that what you want? I mean, that sounds to me like what you want. You tell me. Is that what you're trying to do? So you can go between different pages, and you can have this so that you can't swipe it, right? So you can actually hit next and previous on the dialogue on the. And how do I show top of homepage? And you need to be a bit more. Do you mean on like the person's desktop on their phone? Is that what you're asking? It's transparent.
Top of the homepage.
Yeah, not being very clear.
Because
you just show it. You're saying show on top of homepage. You just show it. So like, if I say homepage, well, let's do this. Here you go. Look. So take this page view carousel, and I'm going to make a class called carousel. I don't know. This is carousel screen. Carousel screen. Extend stateless widget. And its build method is going to build throw. It's going to throw one of these apparently. We're going to return one of those, and we're going to have a static route. There you go. No, I'm done. I don't want to do that. Show. Let's just do show.
At what point does it get complex enough that you finally drop in like Go Router? Or do you use Go Router ever?
I mean, it's only if I need to modify like the backend stack, right? Like it's just not for most situations. Like no need for it, right? Like if you need the declarative approach to UI, right? Then use that.
Okay.
I did that right. And now we want to push a we'll do a material pop-up route. We actually want to. We can also do a custom route. Yeah, I mean, I can show people how to do a custom route. Why not? Well, you do a page route builder. There you go. Make things a bit.
Now this is where I get lost again. So he's got, after calling the init method of the home screen, I didn't realize screens have init methods, but okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about there.
Yeah, this is not
like it basically means you go to the home screen app and then the dialog pops up. Then do that.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Literally, what I'm going to do here. So
okay.
What we're going to do. So there's our like carousel screen, and we're going to have an animate. We're going to do a nice animation on this. We'll do. Where's the transition builder? Transition duration. Const. Duration. Let's do it really slow to begin with. And then the transition builder. I can never remember that. Let's do that. Being lame. Anyway, right. Return child, right? So it's going to have no transition, and then what we can do is do our own. Wrap this with a fade transition, and then we're always going to wrap it with a. Come on. Oh, you know what? Yes, animation. There you go. Oh, I have errors. That's why it's not liking me. All right. Right. So our home screen is going to have a center. No, we're going to have a column. And inside the column, we're going to have an elevator button. And we're going to have to press that to show it, as well as have it auto show to solve the question of this request. Go dialogues. Show carousel. Show carousel. No. So we do carousel screen dot show context. Right. We're going to do that first of all, and then let's get it back. Oh. Right. So we've got a button, show carousel, fades in, and we can swipe it. Now, you see the background went black, but we can close it and go back. This went black because that's not optimization the framework is doing. You need to tell it that this route is not opaque. Otherwise, it's going to think that once it gets to once it's transitioned in, the widget behind is no longer there, and it doesn't paint it because you never see it. So semi-transparent, then you want to do this, and we can close it out of it. And then we also want a barrier color. In this case, you don't have to have one, but in this case, I want one, so it darkens the screen. Darkens the screen behind.
No,
there you go. And it's really slow, so we'll make that definitely a lot quicker in a minute. Now, not just fade transition. Let's now wrap this in another one.
Some curves.
Slide transition, and we can do a nice little curve on it. Yeah. So we want to slide from a. So we want to begin with our offset. Now I think these offset numbers are not pixels, but I do forget. So we'll find out. First of all,
yes.
let's.
Slide might be widths and heights.
Yeah. Let's. So 0, 0. So we want to end at 0. And we want to begin at dy1. That'll be off the bottom of the screen, I believe. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, offset scaled to child size.
Right, now what we want to do is we want to use a curved animation as our parent. And that curve, we ease in out. Oh, there's actually a fast out, fast ease in to slow ease out. I think that sounds like what I want. Let's find out.
You need like to add while wiggling a bit. Exactly,
right?
While shaking it.
So it kind of slides into place and then comes out quick.
Yeah.
So now now what we can also do, this fade transition, I want to fade in before it stops, right? So what we do, the way we do that is we do a interval. So we do a curved animation, right? But the curve is what you call an interval. This is how we do this. Oops, interval, and this is a fractional unit of the animation time. So we say we want it to begin at we're going forwards, right, from the end. So the end is going to be 0, 0, and then we want to finish the animation at 50%. Right. So the time the animation gets to here, it should be fully opaque, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Maybe we could even change that a bit more down. Let's try 30. Somewhere in between. Let's do 40.
Yeah.
I think that would be. There you go. Now it's going. Now we're going to speed that up and make it more on the realm of what it should be. I have to make the sound effect. Why am I making the sound effect?
Does that have proper light and dark themes, or are you all baked in here?
Oh no! I do. I'm using the dark theme at the moment, and I just changed the background to white. But if I get rid of that background, like because it's dark, you're not. And I'm. Oh, you see what you mean with the. Yeah, I mean we could definitely change that. Like at the moment, where is it black 38? Like we could do theme of context. Is there like I think there's a scrim color somewhere. Dialogue theme. Is it dialogue theme? Barrier color.
Yeah, look at that.
So I think I'm not sure there's going to be much. And let's see what happens if we get rid of our. Where's that white?
Just curious because I'm starting to think about theme colors and stuff when I'm building apps. So
yeah, always. This is the tragedy of examples, right? That you want to move quick and not have to do a bunch of stuff, but then
right. And then Randall asks a question.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
That's interesting. So anyway, if I go light theme, let's have a look. See, that's interesting, right? Like the default themes don't have a barrier color to the dialogue. Is that just me being like me, or like I feel like that should be expectation, right? Like same here, scaffold color. I feel like you kind of want. Oh, you know what is this? This use material 2. No, it's just material 3. It should be. Do I use material 3? Is that off by default? It just might be because this is Windows, so it doesn't work with material theme very well. Anyway, let's not worry about that right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw that in there. All right, 45. Anyway, yeah, I kind of want this to be lighter. Whatever. Oh, that's even worse. No, I'm not going to find what I want.
Nice try.
Trying to get just some contrast. There you go. Okay, I guess that kind of works. Right, anyway, moving on, because we're going to be sitting. You can play forever with color values and everything, right? Right. So we've got this thing. So now you want it so when the app starts up, it just shows it, right? So in here, we're going to make it to a stateful widget. And then in did change dependencies. Actually, what I'm doing now, init state. Right. This is what most people don't read. So you can't access your context in init state, right? Like you can't do all these things. It would be bad to do so. But what we can do is we can say it's widgets binding dot instance dot add post frame callback. This means after the next frame of graphics has been rendered, I want you to do this callback. And this callback we're going to call carousel screen show.
We did get it's really great. Thank you so much. So we actually already.
You're welcome. So there you go. I just hot restarted and up come the dialogue. I didn't do anything. Right. I'm going to hot restart. There it is. And if I show you here, if I start the app up fresh, we should get the dialogue pop up and animate in.
Nice.
There you go. That's it. So that's how you kind of do that thing. And you can then, I mean, this is the other thing, right? Let's just flip this around a little bit and say, here's our carousel screen. We're calling it right now. Let's make it stateful. What it did change dependencies? Why did I change that? So because it's not truly a bad thing to use did change dependencies, but then what's going to happen is if I'm listening to a dependency in this widget, and it changes, then I'm going to show the carousel dialogue again. That's not what I wanted to do, is it? I didn't want to say I want any dependency change to show the dialogue. Right? Only the screen initially shows, right? And anyway, so now I've changed this to stateful. What we could do is say init state down here, dispose, oops, and then page view as a controller. We're going to have a final page controller, and set that up in here. I don't need to do anything there, and then dispose of it properly in here. And then what we can do is pass that controller to our pages like so. What do you think we can do with that? Why is that having a problem? Oh, because it's not constant. So now down here on our dialogue, you have the tint color. We could probably use that. Never mind. In our column, we can have a row at the bottom. With 2 buttons, and we'll do X button. Have previous. Previous page. There's no way of doing that. It'd be nice if you could just define the animate page. It'd be nice if you could just do that as whatever. Curves dot ins and out. Split the difference. Right. So there's a previous button, and then we'll do the same thing here for the next button. Right. And then we want the button to be disabled when you can't go previous, right? So we'll wrap this in a builder. No, we want an animated builder, sorry.
Yeah.
And then we're going to listen to the controller. What does this one? Doesn't it say it's child, isn't it? Yeah, child. It's child. Why you no work? Because it's nullable. Yeah. All right. So the whole idea of the animated builder is so that when the sorry, I can't talk and type apparently at the moment.
Yeah.
It happens. Right. Trying to start again. Right. I'll get there. Right. There we go. So the reason why I want the animated builder around the controller is when the controller's value changes, it will rebuild the widget, right? Now in here, we can then say, okay, is there a no, you set the function to null to disable it. So we say controller dot page I swear there was like an int page. Oh, anyway, page nullable. So we'll say it's 0 if it's null for some reason. I have a feeling we might need to put some other protections around this. I forget. But anyway, then we want to say null. And what we want to do here is if the value is, we want to floor it. There we go as well. So floor is equal to 0, right? So it does not equal. Yeah, it's equal to 0. It's null, right? We're basically saying if you're on page 0, then the button's disabled, right? And we can take the same logic, pop it in here, and we just say if it's round. I'll say if it's equal to greater than equal to. No. Controller dot. Is it like a page count? Something. I thought there is somewhere. Why can't I see that here?
The length of the list of items.
Yeah, I can get the viewport. I can get like the I can get the position, the viewport size, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm just like, I thought it was meant to be an initial count, but maybe I'm forgetting myself. Maybe I'm thinking about some other stuff I built. That's really bugging. That's really bugging me actually. Like I feel like that's one of those things that you kind of feel that you should have. Yeah, it's just page metrics. Hang on. Yeah, so you can get the page metrics. Like it's like one of those things that just be like give you the page count based on the metrics. That's just stupid.
Weird.
I'm probably thinking it's somewhere, but I can't be bothered with it right now. So we're just gonna say let's then count. No, I don't want to do it here. Why is it making me do this? Let's do a page count. And then we're going to say final page count is going to be.
Mike's calling you out here. Prefer
yeah, I was thinking about that, but then I don't want to get the actual value, right? So, oh no, list. Oh, sorry, yeah. So what Mike's saying here is that listable. Sorry, I thought value listable builder. Sorry, no, listenable builder is actually exactly the same as animated. Is there any difference?
Is that because a value listenable builder is being provided a value from something like a value notifier, where a listenable builder
that's value listenable builder. That's the difference. So you got listenable builder, value listenable builder. It's the problem I've got is animated builder. This just says listenable, so it's just all it is semantics, right? Like this makes a bit more sense, but it's actually functionally exactly the same, right?
Right.
And the reason why I go with the other one is because when I was a young lad, we didn't have listenable builder, we only had animated builder.
Right.
So that's just what I go to, my brain goes to. But yeah, whatever. It's fine. Right, where was I? So yeah, I swear this should be a shortcut to this, but anyway. What do we need to do? We need to get the metrics from the controller? Question mark. Can we do that? We can get the viewport dimension. We get the max scroll extent minus the minimum scroll extent divided by the viewport dimension. Tells you how many pages. That's just annoying as all hell, but okay. Like, why am I calculating this? Come on, who's going to raise a PR?
Here.
So yeah, so our page count will be position. What does it say? It was the max. Yeah, max minus the min, which is going to give us your scrollable content dimensions because reasons. And then the amount of content that we have, we want to divide that by our viewport dimension just to tell us how many pages there are. It's kind of annoying that I'm having to do that. I feel like there's a better way, but whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really make that much difference. Right. And then we assert page value is only available after content dimensions are exposed, which is what I thought. So, yeah. So it's fine the second time around, but not the first time. This is this is one of those things in Flutter that it does annoy me. So basically, a controller, perhaps on the first build, isn't attached. It waits for the first build to calculate the dimensions. So it needs to. Okay, it's a chicken and the egg scenario thing, right? So let me explain what's going on here. So controller position will complain when there's not attached or it's not had its dimensions set. So for us to be able to use the max scroll extent, we have to check to see if it has those dimensions. Then if we use them, yeah, so in this case, what we actually have to do is say something like this. We can say final in page count, and then say if position has content dimensions, then we can say page count equals whatever this is. Else maybe, well, we could also, I don't know, we can do something like this, right? Have it be 0 to begin with, right? And we need to do an integer divide, of course. There we go. That's what the tool does. Yes. Is that the hang on. Tabs. Right. What have I got here? Has content dimensions. Yes. This is correct. It probably doesn't have the viewport dimension. Right. Where is this assert coming from? This is piss me off. Page has content dimensions. All right. Fine. There should be like a version of this that doesn't have any of this. This defaults to the value because that'd make my life a lot easier as well. So we're basically saying we need to do controller as content dimensions, and we could actually put it on the left hand side, couldn't we? It does not have content dimensions. Or what? Well, you know work. Oh, not controller's position. Oh my goodness me. No, I'm a good fine time. I knew this was gonna be pain. Right. Overflown. Overflown. Right. This has pissed me off now. What is it complaining about?
Those yellow and black construction stripes now haunt me.
Yeah. Right. So it's complaining about our accessor of page here. Oh. Wait a minute. What was I editing? I thought I was editing that. Oh, I was editing the wrong one. Okay. Well, it'd be necessary in both, but okay. Fine. There we go. Right. That's kind of annoying. Anyway, right. Clear it. So back to where we were. So previous is disabled. Hit next. There you go. Next. Now next is disabled. Hit previous.
Cool.
And there you go.
That's some advanced programming there, man. People pay good money for that.
Yeah, man.
People pay good money for this is not equal to the max and this is not equal to the min.
Right. Super complicated, man. We have like oh, it's like dark. I swear something's up with this, like beaming on Windows.
It's a useful question. This is rebuilding the dialogue when the page changes, right?
No, that was me doing stupid things.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. This is my
cross-axis alignment diagonal.
Yeah, now right. That's what I want.
Bringing out the intrinsic heights.
And then above the row, I'm just making it old school. For no good reason.
He traveled far beyond the intrinsic heights.
Right. There you go. And then
renewable.
Why is the default like rounded? Let's fix that. Style text button. That's dot. Text button. Oh my god! Stop adding the constructor, you piece of shit. Right. Start from. Thank you. Right. What was doing? There. Rounded corners. Shape. Rectangle.
Rounded rectangle.
This is rectangle. There's
Okay.
No, if you just want like. Oh, it's border. It's just border, isn't it?
Yeah.
Box border. I forget which one it is now. Oh, it's not going to be none of them. It's going to be none of them.
Neither of them are shape. They must have shapes.
Outline has been outline shape. An outline border.
Yep.
An outline border has extent. So, hey, man, I can construct one that's an abstract class without a border side. So what you're saying is I can do that and it's fine. What? Oh, no. What I'm talking about. Oh, no. Damn. Right. I don't remember which ones. Beveled rectangle border, continuous rectangle border, rounded rectangle border, linear border. I tell you what, I've not used half of these. These are all like, these are new ones. Star border. I feel like what is a linear border? Let's have a look. Find a rectangular box in terms of 0 to 4 linear border edges. Why? Oh, okay. So you can have like, oh, that's cool. The bottom, so you can do like just a bottom line, so that like tabs. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
Continuous sounds to me like what I probably want. Let's do that. Are you happy now? Copy. Paste. Okay, that works. And then all I want to do is adjust the width to 1 here. All right, so does this work? Let's have a look. There you go. Look at that. I can get a button that covers the entire area now. So next.
Nice. Yeah.
Area. Next. I know the rounded edges were just annoying me. Now I've got like 2 buttons that you can kind of press with like kind of outlining things. I guess I could have outlined the buttons, but then you would have had a double outline in the middle. Whatever. Anyway, so where were we?
I don't.
Yeah, I think this is what the chap wanted, right? Like,
yeah. Well, he's already happy. I think he's probably gone. He might still be there.
Hang a minute. Show carousel. Why? What?
Why is there no previous and next?
I know, but when it opens up, if I move the carousel, it lights up.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Well, that's weird. It has to repaint it at least once.
It's not getting the notice that our listener, the controller is not updating once these flags are changed, obviously. That's not possible. Yeah.
So we're seeing impossible behavior.
If it does not have content dimensions. On the page. This is annoying because page returns null, right? But there's not nullable because you try and access it and it will just throw. It doesn't assert, right? It doesn't check itself and returns null if it's not there. This is like just super annoying. Yeah, I'm not seeing any reason why that would not work. It's interesting also when I start the app up, it works. It's only when it's launched from the button.
Weird.
When I hot restart, it works fine. That is very weird. Do you know what? I can't be bothered debugging it right now. Someone else's problem. Right. Anyway, I can post that code. What else? Do we all, is that it? Are we gonna park it there? Or did I feel like
we're coming up on 3 hours, so
yeah, I think that's it. I think that kind of covers. I think people, unless anyone's got any
I didn't see anything else.
Why am I putting 0.0 in places? Was that the question? Like this down here. I mean, this is just these 2 question marks are null coercion, right? So if page returns null, it will use this as the default value. I'm not putting 0 just because I want to know that it is actually returning a double, right? So page returns a double. If I go back, if I put 0 here, these parentheses are returning back a num, which is a double on one side or an integer, right? It's like a mix between the two. And then the methods that I can actually call on that are going to be a lot less. In this case, actually, it's treated as dynamic, I think, is a lot less. Whereas if I do .00 and I do dot, you'll see I'm going to get probably, it's going to call me a liar right now, but you'll see it, trust me.
There actually is a question.
I mean, we've got some general questions here. Do we want to finish up with some general questions before we call it a day?
Yeah, there's this here.
Let me grab that code and I'll put it in the gist for anyone that wants it.
Okay, do that first.
You want to bring up some questions whilst I do that?
Yeah, let's see. Well, I'll mark this one. I'll mark. Let's see. There was my question. Where was my question? You can answer it for me, probably with a one-liner of code. I don't find it. I gotta find my name. There's my name. No, it's after the poll thing. I can't. It's gonna be later than this.
I was going to call this dialogue carousel because, yeah, why not?
Oh, there's this. Okay, that's me. Where is earlier question? I answered a couple too, so let me see if I can find the ones that I answered.
Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Just bear with me. Oh, what's this link?
Yeah. There's this, which I don't think we answered. So we can cover that. Okay, there's that one that was before the cutoff. Actually, slightly after the cutoff. So I had to apologize and say we're cut off already. So I might as well pick that one up.
Can I read it out?
Here's another one. All right. All right. You ready?
Yeah,
ready
I'm
for question?
This thing. It's just gone.
Okay. All right. So here's one that came in earlier. So Joseph may not be there. Actually, Joseph asked a later question, I think. So which package is most reliable? Oh, yeah. For persistent local storage of Flutter, supporting all platforms with sickness and health. Till death do
I
us
like
part.
ISAR. There you go.
You like what?
ISAR. ISAR.
Oh, ISAR.
Yeah.
ISAR, yes. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, then there's tons of them, right? Like I know, I mean, yeah, I think ISAR is the one I'd say right now.
Okay. And here's my question. So if I have a value listenable, is there an easy way to turn into a listenable for something that doesn't want that value, just wants the notifications of change? And I'm thinking specifically of the fact that you have a listenable.
A value listenable is a listenable.
Is it?
Yes.
What does it do with the value then? Does it just somehow throw away the value?
So no, a value listable inherits listable. So listable itself is just notification. Value listable is something that has a value and is listable, right?
Is there anything that's listenable that doesn't have a value?
Yes, there's a listenable.
Yeah, right.
Change notifier, for example.
So somehow the function parameters that can accept either a listenable or a value listenable. What do they do with the parameter versus not then?
Oh no, you can't. I see what you're saying. So you mean a super subset? No, that's the problem, right? This is inherently the thing, right? So you just have it always be a list, like accept a listable, and then it just doesn't use the value getter, right? And then it's up to you as a programmer to either take that parameter and upcast it, or to a value listenable, or just have your parent type in terms of.
Oh, you just don't call dot value on it, right? To get the value. Is that what it is? You take the listenable, and if you don't call dot value on it, you've got the notification.
People are saying ISAR is dead. I mean, it's near as Hive. So
Drift is also dead. Boy.
This is the problem you're talking about here. One is like I was just saying that these are community-led packages, right? We, as a community, we can come together to maintain them. If you're saying that they're not being maintained anymore, then bring it to someone's attention, and we can then say, okay, let's move it to the Flutter community, and other people can help maintain it, right? So,
yep, we got a couple more questions too.
Yeah. Just to let everyone know, the gist link is in the chat and there it is on screen. If you do want to go grab the code from today.
Okay, so
it's not being ignored. Well, it is. It's complicated. That's what that is.
okay. All right. Which package is better for syncing? Flutter background service or work manager? When I want things to work even when the application is closed. Why does everybody want to use my batteries up when I'm not using their app? This is constantly like my fight now. It's like people stop trying to use up my batteries.
I don't think there. I don't think there is a. I mean,
it does. You can't
whoever
work when
wants
you're
does
not
your case
open.
for you. Like you got with the Flutter background stuff, you've got a lot more to do. Work. The whole idea of work managers, it replicates the work manager API from Flutter from Android, which means you say, oh, when I have internet and I'm plugged in, then run my code, or I'm. You can set up several different scenarios. That's why work manager is different from Flutter background service. Background service is just I'm going to run something in the background. It doesn't check. You have to check to see if you're online. You have to do stuff, right? So it depends on your use case, right? But probably work manager.
Yeah.
We're thinking. Pardon me. Right, I'm getting the end of this now. Blimey.
Okay. Recently updated an app into the Play Store, and I received a message from the Play Store. The app is taking too much time to start. We'll stop doing that. And visibility will be decreased. How can I decrease the startup time? Start faster.
Yeah. So it's probably because you're doing stuff in your main function. So what happens is, if you do a lot of stuff in your main function, you're stopping the app from rendering any frames of graphics, and in doing so, that's reported to the operating system, and that's saying, oh, it's taking a long time to show anything on the screen to the user, which is bad. So what you actually want to do is you run app immediately with a widget, and then have the widget's init state start your background process of loading. It can show little loading spin on the screen, and then once your app is finished loading, the future comes back, and then you can then rebuild your UI with a material app that does what you want it to do. Done.
Right. You can call run app more than once. That's something
it.
that a lot of people don't know about. However, I got a notice somewhere. Where did I see that? That calling run app more than once messes up your back button on your web. Because it puts both of the run app things in the queue on the back button.
Interesting.
So I'm trying to think of how to do that.
So you can actually, so that's actually a bug, because the navigation stack is cleared. It can be cleared by the app in the browser. So the back stack can be cleared. So run app should be clearing it, but it's not when it's initialized, because I guess they didn't attest for the case they don't run app twice.
Oh, yeah, maybe not. So wherever I saw that, I'm gonna see if I can drag out the original person that said that to me and say, go file a bug, or I could file a bug too. I'm capable of that. Final question that I could find. I'm using refresh token concepts in my project to prevent multiple logins. I need to push user to a login screen. If the code is 1000 in response, I need to show session expired, or is there a better approach? Oh, from Madan. No wonder. Okay. That's why it's a little muddy. What do you think, sir? I'm using a refresh token.
I haven't used Drift actually, Mike. So Mike, sorry, I'm reading the chat. What were you saying? I'm using a refresh token concept in my project to prevent multiple login. Okay. I need to push the user to a login screen, e.g. if the code is 1000 in response, I need to show session expired. Better approach, question mark. I don't even know the question. You just stated what you're doing. And you asked, is there a better approach? I mean, that's the approach you want to take. I mean, I don't know. Like you would have it so that you have a refresh token. You take the user straight into the app if you've got your refresh token. You validate it with the server, and then if you get back an error code 1000, I guess you mean, then you're going to say session expired and then take them to the login screen. Sure, perfect. Do it. Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that was the last question I noticed in the chat that was after the shut off. So
I wanted to bring this up. So Mike was just saying, as of 3 Drift was updated as of 3 years. I saw some time ago, basically. 17 months stable, 13 months dev. So yeah, I mean, I haven't tried Drift recently, so yeah, try Drift. I mean, you know,
cool.
I'll be honest with you. You can just open up a file.
Yep.
Use the Dart.io to open up a file and use the path provider package to say which direction you should put it in. And that's it. You've now got persistent data storage that works on all platforms. Done.
Yep.
And you can put a whole JSON object there. You can put files, you can put binary data, put pictures, do whatever you want. Okay, Christian, fine. Not on web. But on web, you do local storage. It's the same deal. Just store a byte array in there. Done.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All right. Well, it's the end of the third hour. Probably a good time to start breaking this apart and talk about everybody come back next week in 165 hours because we haven't hit daylight savings time in either continent yet.
Yeah.
So still 165, which is 168 minus 3. And I'll hope to be here as usual. And I'm pretty sure Simon's going to be here. And we'll hopefully get our usual cast of
same time,
cohorts.
same place. See you then.
Yep.
Bye,
right.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.